it this time. I go for mine. I get to shine. Now throw your hands up in the sky. Go for mine. I get to shine. Now throw your hands up in the sky.
Hello, everybody. Hello, and welcome to another episode of This Week in Startups, also known as TWiST, pound TWiST. That's the hashtag. If you are on Twitter right now and you would like to ask a question during the show, that's what you do. You just put pound TWiST on it. It's Friday. It's 1 o'clock. That means it's time for This Week in Startups. Kind of a busy week. Did a couple speaking gigs yesterday. That went well. And then next week is the audience conference, which is the final keynote I'm going to give. Right? I'm retiring after that.
Official retirement.
Official retirement. That'll be the last speaking gig I ever do. If anybody wants to roll deep at the audience conference, we have 5 free tickets. So email contact@thisweekinstartups during the show live. Audience conference is in New York City. Lauren Feldman's show. I'll be giving the final keynote. This is the last time I'm going to speak at a conference, ever. The final keynote. That's it.
And by
Done.
The way, people think you're joking.
I'm not joking. You know me enough to know I'm not
people
joking.
have been emailing me, and I have to say, he's not doing conferences anymore.
But is that like kind of how you said you weren't going to blog anymore too? Or?
Yeah, and I stopped blogging. I did the email newsletter, exactly. And our guest today, Mark Suster, I'm pronouncing it correctly, right? Suster?
Yeah, that's it.
Mark Suster's here. He's a CEO turned VC.
Yes.
Ran a couple of companies successfully.
Yep.
Then you went over to the dark side, became a VC, and you're quite the angel investor VC here in Los Angeles.
A little bit of both.
A little bit of both. And we'll be taking some calls today. We're going to do 2 Shark Tanks today. It's a busy agenda. Anybody who wants to roll deep with us, everybody knows what roll deep means. That means you get to go with Tyler and I to the conference for free. Anytime I go speak anywhere, we make them give us free tickets. We use that sort of leverage, like, hey, you want Jason to speak? Give us free tickets. So they gave us 5 free tickets. Send your sob story. Exactly how bad your life is. How much does it suck? How bad is it? How, whatever. Like you're broke, you have no hope in life, no job. Like, just if it's bad. Like if you're rich and you got money to do this, your company can pay for it, don't ask for a free ticket. But if you're aspiring, you're up and coming, you're from the bottom, email contact@thisweekinstartups, give us your sob story, and if it's really brutal, we'll then publish it on our website and laugh about it and give you a free ticket. Something like that. No, we won't publish it. We'll just reference it in the show. Wow, 400 people in the chat room. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. And let me start the show by thanking our sponsors. They make everything possible. The show has incredible production value. The studio cost a lot of money to put together. And actually, the studio is going to get even better. It looks like the guys at Sony are going to come through and get us the new cameras, like these crazy cameras. So hopefully, keeping our fingers crossed that our peeps at Sony gear us up, as they say in the biz.
It would be like the Mahalo Sony Studios.
It will be like Mahalo Studios with Sony gear. So hopefully, and if Panasonic's listening, you missed out. You're too slow. Sorry, Panasonic. Or who's the other people who make good cameras? Panasonic's the one.
Samsung's doing some
Yeah,
cool
Samsung,
stuff.
too slow. It looks like Sony's going to get it. Thank you to the sponsors. WebSpy. Everybody uses WebSpy. If you want to analyze your network traffic, you want to know what the hell's going on in your company, you want to know where the problems are in your network, you want to strengthen the security of your site, you want to analyze all that network traffic, that's what you use WebSpy for. WebSpy. Everybody loves WebSpy, and everybody loves DNA Mail. These are like the 2 anchors to the show, DNA Mail. Everybody loves DNA Mail. When you're running a startup company, don't be doing all this IT stuff. You outsource it to guys who are professionals. That's what DNA Mail does. A couple of bucks a month. You got your Google Docs, you got your hosted exchange, whatever it is you guys want to use. Boom, they'll set it up. And they're going to come and they're doing a party. Aren't they going to do a meetup? Alex, what's the story with that?
Yeah, we're locking out the date. They're going to do it, but we're going to do a meetup at the studio. People will be able to watch live.
Yeah, so nobody can hear what you're saying, but basically Alex is telling me that DNA Mail is going to do something, I think, in December, where they're going to come into town, they're going to throw a party here, they're going to buy a bunch of booze and pizza and caviar. I don't know what they're going to do. Maybe some donuts, whatever. And thanks to them for sponsoring the show from the beginning, and they're still doing it. Ustream. What a great service. 431 people here watching the show live. Ustream is fantastic. What a great sponsor they've been. And audio, books from Audible. Gosh, everybody loves that, and we'll be giving Audible another plug. As listeners to the show, you are obligated. It is your Geary G-I-R-I, your Geary, your duty to thank the sponsors. Without them, you have no show. I'm not here. Tyler's certainly not here. Alex isn't here. These guys don't roll out of bed for cheap. People got bills to pay. We got all kinds of equipment in here. The lighting system in here is 10 grand. We need the sponsors to make it happen. You need to thank the sponsors on Twitter. This is our own unique advertising format. You, the audience, get to participate in the production of the show. You get to say thank you to at DNA Mail, at WebSpy, at Ustream, and at Audible_COM. So, Mark, would you like to take a phone call? We'll hear this Ask Jason segment when we'll give them some advice.
Sounds good.
The idea is they ask a question, we give advice.
Sounds
pretty
good to
simple,
me.
right? All right, so let's get the first Ask Jason caller on. This is the segment of the show everybody loves. Okay, I hear the phone ringing. Okay, 1 second, and we'll have the person calling. This is James we're going to be talking to.
While we're waiting for James.
While
I
we're
just
waiting for
wanna
James.
say,
Oh, Tyler.
I'm particularly excited about this episode
Why are you excited?
because people, what they like about you, which we saw
Right.
last night at the talk you gave, is your directness and bluntness
Sure.
and saying what's on your mind exactly as it occurs.
Right.
Mark is very much the same way.
Okay.
And so this is going to make for an interesting dynamic.
Okay.
Because normally I'm very passive. And
Right.
when we have it, our exchanges, you're very kind of direct and forceful, and I take the, Jedi, the
I got
droids
you.
aren't here that you're looking for.
Right,
type
right,
approach.
okay.
But
Yeah,
you
it's like
and
a
Mark,
wheelchair at Disneyland. I get it.
right. So, but you and Mark have a similar head-to-head sort of
All right,
approach.
we'll,
So
we'll
this is
see
gonna
how that
be-
goes.
this
And
is-
Mark, you're from the VC firm GRP Partners.
That's the one.
GRP Partners did, let me see if I remember correctly here, you did Overture.
We did
which
Overture.
was a big deal. That got sold to Yahoo,
That's true.
like a bill, $2 bill.
North of a bill, yeah.
North of a bill with a B.
Yeah.
And you guys did some food companies like Jamba Juice.
We did.
That's way too much sugar in that stuff, dude.
I agree. We're no longer shareholders.
Okay, good. And then you did some other food companies. There was one other big internet company you guys did.
Yeah, we did a few big internet. We've done 16.
Pay me later.
Bill me later.
Bill me later.
Bill me
Which
later. Was,
Amazon bought or eBay bought?
eBay bought it.
eBay bought it.
Amazon invested. eBay bought it. They bought it for just under $1 billion.
Another B.
We've had 16 Bs.
16 Bs. There you go.
16 Bs. We
And
did-
how long has the firm been around, and what's the size of the fund?
So as an independent fund, we've been around since 1996.
Perfect.
So across our funds, we've had a total of $1 billion cash. Our
Right.
current fund is a brand new fund. It's $200 million.
Okay.
And
Seems like a reasonable number.
it's a good number, I think.
Yeah.
There's 4 investment partners, and that's about the number you want to have. And the nice thing is we're all dry powder because we didn't invest a lot in 07, 08.
Right.
And so if you imagine this, like a normal VC, you do 12 deals a year, right?
Right.
And so let's say you did 12 deals, 06, 07, 08, 36 deals. You pretty much had 20 to 25 problems on your hands. So I
Right.
think, VC was really constipated for 6 or 8 months.
Yeah.
And it's what I call the triage problem. Like, people were triaging those. And, through a combination of a lot of luck,
Right.
a little bit of foresight, we just didn't do a lot of investing in those years. So in 09, we've done 8 or 9 investments already this year, and we're very active.
Oh, very nice. Good time to be active.
It is.
Valuations are low.
I think valuations are fair.
They're low. Higher. No, this is always what happens. Everybody gets all upset, like, oh my God, the valuations are too high. Oh my God, the valuations are too low.
Yeah.
And it's like, well,
But-
you just have to deal with what the state of the market is.
But let's talk truth, right? Like A rounds,
Yeah.
where we get involved, there's only so much variance you can really have on the
Right.
downside. You're not going to invest $3 million at a 1 pre and take 75% of the
no,
company, right?
I mean, the most you would take is what, 40% of a company? You wouldn't
I'd
want to take
say-
more than that.
As an industry, the most anyone should ever take is 40. I saw a deal recently. They came in the A round. They had taken 55%. And I looked at the CEO and I just said, I could never fund you. And he says, well, what do you mean? Like, we've got this great company. And I said, you've already been effed by your VCs.
Right.
And, if I take another third, then a year from now, you're
It's
thinking.
not enough. You don't have enough skin in the game.
And he's going to switch from owner to manager, and he's going to do it very
Right.
early. And
He's going to be concerned about his salary as
Exactly.
opposed to the exit, building value.
And he'll start evenings and weekends thinking about his next gig. So I think it's a fallacy that VCs have, that they think that they can get in at too cheap of prices, or that I'm going to somehow rework, one of these high-priced A deals in 07, and get a cheap deal in 09. I think it's a fallacy.
Yeah.
So I think there's kind of a normal range, and I tell people the fair way is 25 to 33% of
Yeah.
what you should be looking to give up.
Yeah, I think that's probably in the range. I mean, that's what we did with Mahalo. And I think if
Yeah.
you, as an entrepreneur, you want your first VC, the A round,
Yeah.
to have 25 or 33%. big enough piece that they can say this is worth focusing on.
Yeah.
This could be a big win for us if it becomes worth $1 billion. If your investment becomes worth $500 million and you own a third of it, guess what? You paid back your entire fund almost.
Right.
That's pretty good for you guys.
Exactly.
But if you only have 10%, not so much.
Exactly. I mean, so Fred Wilson wrote an interesting post about this recently, saying
Fred Wilson of VC.com.
Yes, I'm sorry.
Union Square Partners.
Union Square. And I think he was right in what he said directionally, which is he said that VCs always say they want to get 25% or more, and that they should really focus on what the entrepreneurs want rather than the VCs. But I think you're pointing out the kind of flip side of that argument, which is if you become Twitter and a VC owns 8% of you, well, you're laughing, right? Who cares? Because that firm is going to pay you a lot of attention. But most startups, they go through ups and downs.
Yeah.
And in the tough times, if you have a VC that owns 8% of you, I just don't think you're going to get the focus that you need. So.
Yeah. If you need any focus from your VCs, some entrepreneurs don't.
Yeah, fair enough.
Well,
but first-time entrepreneurs in particular.
First-time entrepreneurs, you're probably going to... I honestly think now that I've seen it a bunch of times, people spend way too much time listening to their VCs, not enough time being focused themselves. I mean, you don't want the startups coming to you asking you, what should I do? Maybe for advice, but I mean, if they're asking you for too much advice, that's sort of a red flag, right?
I don't know necessarily. You'll know this yourself. I mean, I did it twice as a startup. It's a very lonely business being CEO because a lot of the issues you have are things you can't necessarily discuss with your staff. Your wife probably isn't going to have quite the insight into the daily life and grind of being an entrepreneur. And so I think some of these issues are good to debate with a VC.
Yeah.
The problem is, and I always say this to my entrepreneurs on the companies that I work with, is take my opinions, mix them into the pot with every other opinion, getting don't just do what I say, but let me be a sparring partner for you. And I hope that's the role I play.
I think that's probably good advice. So do we have our caller, Alex?
Phone crash. I'm pulling up a third one.
Oh, okay. Our phone system has crashed.
No, not ours. Theirs.
Oh, their phone system did.
Just completely unusable, and the other one.
So we lost both. Can we go to Jason Shark Tank? We can just skip that segment.
Go to Jason?
Yeah, let's get one of the things going. We could do Ask Jason, then Ask Shark Tank. This is the Shark Tank segment. This is where people pitch.
All right, sounds good.
Usually it runs like that.
That's what I want.
Do you ever see the show Shark Tank?
Yes.
What do you think of the show? Not yet. Why is it?
I think it's unrealistic people who are judging.
That's right.
Yeah.
You know who they asked to be on the show?
Wait, hang on. The audience missed this part. They need to hear that part.
The audience missed that part?
Well, yeah, it was going over.
I thought they could
the
hear
Shark
it.
Tank,
Oh, okay. So what do you think? You've seen the program. What do you think of the program?
Yeah, I think Shark Tank is a little bit ridiculous because the people who are giving advice to the people pitching are unrealistic, and I think that they're not true people who give real entrepreneurial advice. I mean, like sometimes they want to take 70-80% of the company, and that's not investing in an entrepreneur. That's manipulating and finding a manager for your business.
Right. So you're saying the show's crap, basically. You know who was going to be on that show?
Who's that?
Me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And contract dispute, is that what
No,
happened?
they called twice, these knuckleheads.
And your phone system crashed?
No, the phone system crashed. They called twice, and I handed them off to Tyler, and I'm like, okay, this sounds interesting, whatever, and then they don't call back. It's totally unprofessional, these guys.
Yeah.
The show's going off the air.
Is it?
Yeah, that's what we're told. We get the inside information on the show, so here it's going off the air. It's
It could have been
terrible.
better.
Okay, so FU Shark Tank, glad you're off the air, and let's hear our first pitch. Who is this, Pablo?
No, second.
Tim. Okay. So whenever you're ready, you can send Tim. All right, here we go. Tim. Tim, are you there?
Yes, sir.
Okay, Tim. You've seen the show before, I take it?
Oh, a bunch of times, yes.
Okay, favorite episode, favorite guest so far is?
Gary. Gary's my favorite.
Okay, Gary's your favorite. Favorite segment of the show?
Probably this Shark Tank right here.
All right, there you go.
Where it's at.
All right, so you're calling from the 503. Where are you calling from?
I am in Seoul, South Korea right now.
Wow.
Oh, wow, you're in Seoul.
Yes.
There you go. Awesome. So are you there like on vacation, or you live there, or business? What's the story?
It's a little bit of business. Where I'm probably here on vacation and kind of doing a family thing. So.
Got it. Okay. So you know how this works. We're going to give you about a minute to pitch. And so go ahead.
Okay. Hey, Jason. Hey, Mark. And
Hello.
I just want to say sorry about that loss with the Phillies. I know you like those guys.
All right. You just wasted 15 seconds, 45 seconds to go.
So I'm the co-founder of ShoutBuy.com. ShoutBuy is a simple way for people to share their latest purchase in a microblogging format that interacts with Facebook and Twitter. Now, whether your latest purchase with a book or a cup of coffee or even a MacBook Pro, you can share that by snapping a picture with a mobile device or a webcam or upload a photo and write a small blurb, and user can comment on it and rate that buy. So, for example, if you had shoutbuy.com/Mark, your followers could see what purchases you've made in the past and interact with and give you suggestions of future purchases. So imagine you're walking through Borders and you pick up the book, say Crush It by Gary Vaynerchuk. Now, you don't know if you would like that, so you pull out your iPhone and search that book in your network, and maybe Jason bought that book and he said it was awesome and Gary knocked it out of the park. So you'd most likely buy that book because you trust Jason's opinions. Now apply that same concept to movies, Starbucks, or maybe even doggy treats with fondue and Taurus. Basically, anything you can think of. And so it's relevant suggestions. It's coming from people you trust and eliminates having to read 400 reviews from people you've never met off Amazon or Yahoo. And lastly, people want to know what you guys are buying. If you purchase a solid book about entrepreneurship and VC funding, the chat room and I want to read that because it pertains to us. And if Kevin Rose picks up an insane gadget, we would want to check that out as well. So there's so many dynamics to this you could do with product consumption and social networking, and this is just a few ways that our site, tends to do that. So thanks for your time, guys.
Okay, very good. Well done. I think your pitch was pretty good. I do agree with your premise that people's recommendations matter. I mean, that's what reviews have been about. People are already doing this on Twitter, just saying they bought something and getting feedback. And in fact, the company GDGT, which I'm an investor in, Peter Rojas and Ryan Block are doing, who are on the show, has made a social network around the gadgets that you own, want to own, or that you have owned. So there's definitely something there. It seems like you're doing something very wide, every vertical possible. And so that's good to have that big vision. I wonder if maybe picking, a category to go after or a location maybe would be helpful, or some sort of a partnership, because I'm wondering, why do I need to go to ShoutBuy to say what I'm buying? Because I do that already on my other services. So my question for you is, what's the super compelling reason for me to do this through ShoutBuy as opposed to just doing it on Facebook status or Twitter status?
I think it's the same reason why people take a picture of themselves every day on Daily Booth. People want to interact. People want to interact with with different people, and also people that they know with purchases they want to make. So the reason why you would want to do that is because I think in time there will be a large audience, and if your closer friends got on it, it would be less of a headache than to deal with text. And you could see pictures of people who upload the webcam picture or, something entertaining like that. Basically a fun site. And the reason, and I agree with you with the categories, that's what I want to do is break down in categories, because if you see on a lot of forums, people will have their latest purchase opposed to that forum. So like a Mac forum would have, their latest MacBook that they bought. And so I would try to capture it by categories, sort of like Dig does with their submissions or whatever.
All right, so you see some sort of a destination site coming out of all these things that would be fun to browse through.
Yes.
So can I just jump in with a quick point of view? I would say, Tim, Tyler pointed out correctly, I'm pretty blunt and irreverent, so I don't mince words. I think it's a phenomenal idea, and I think someone's going to knock this one out of the park. I mean, the proof of the pudding will be in the eating and your execution, but let's be honest. People giving reviews, that market is broken, and it's broken because you go to websites like TripAdvisor, and there's just a bunch of BS out there, and it's really hard to map what you're interested in with your social network or people who are like you. There's two different ways to attack the problem. There's a company here in LA called Lunch.com who had sold their previous company to TripAdvisor. And what they're doing is they're trying to find matching based on people who have similar patterns to you, not necessarily in your social network. That's one approach. The other are people like ReferQuest, also in town, and a number of other people trying to solve this problem. I think it's a great idea because if I look at my wife, for example, You know, she might have a nanny who she's worked with in the past, and she wants to push that out to her social network. So I think it's taking Craigslist, you know, concept and making it active, and I think someone's going to do really well in this space.
Yeah, I think it's a good idea. I was on the board up until last month of a company called THISNEXT out here, which is doing social shopping, which is sort of a web experience around these are the things that I think are coming next. Not really a social network, you know, not really working through Twitter or Facebook, but still a social network around these things. I think one of the things is it's a small number of people who are interested in this right now. And so my concern would be, does this become more mainstream, or is it going to always be a niche thing like Delicious and StumbleUpon are? So I think you have possibly limited upside if it doesn't become a mass participation kind of thing.
Jason, I'll tell you where I think the magic will be in something like this, which is I think social shopping, THISNEXT, and all the other ones, it largely didn't work. All these
nothing's broken out. They've had moderate success.
Sorry, I don't mean to imply that they, you know, but they haven't become huge successes.
They haven't broken out to over 10 million uniques or something.
I think that, as you have, right?
A lot of people have. There's 160 people above us.
So just pointing out though that the magic of Yelp, the magic of a lot of user-generated content is what I call the 1-9-90 rule, which is you have 1% of hardcore users that write the majority of stuff, 9% of occasional contributors, and 90% what I call lurkers. And so I think the magic for Tim is, how do you identify the 1%?
I think that this was my theory that I wrote in a blog post about 3 years ago.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's okay.
Yeah.
It's a pretty obvious idea.
Okay.
Yeah, right. So, yes, 1% of the people actually do all the work. Some people comment on it, and then the rest of people just consume it. So if these people are the people who are actually writing it, maybe you get a bunch of SEO and a bunch of other people passively read it.
But I will tell you this, Jason, is that it's an obvious idea, but most companies try to cater to everyone, and I think what you need to do is find who your 1% is and how to nurture and encourage them, because if they contribute a lot, then the users will come.
Right, like Yelp. So they have the Yelp Elite are responsible, 0.1% are responsible for 99% of the experience. Okay, so you got some good feedback there. Where are you at with this company? I see that you have a holding page up at ShoutBuy, right? I just put my email on.
So I'm working with 2 developers, and we're all kind of friends, and they're currently in college right now doing computer science, and so we're actually kind of at a halfway point. We're getting some demos up and whatnot, and kind of pushing it out. Like you said, Jason, with THISNEXT, that site that you were on the board of.
Yep.
The problem with that site is actually we took that site and we showed it to a lot of people at the college campuses, and they just found that it was very, very complicated. When you went to that site, there was 47 different things going on at once.
Right.
So I think what I was going with, and what I was trying to show to the other people was that the simplicity of it.
Okay.
Like if you look at a Twitter type, it's just so simple, and I guess that's what I'm going for. So.
All right. Well, I just followed you on ShoutBuy on Twitter, so we're going to watch what you're doing. And where are you guys based?
We're based out of Oregon, actually. So.
Okay. All right. Well, I will expect to get a report in 30 days from you guys. Make sure you contact us and let us know the status of it. I would like to see mock-ups, if possible, of the user flow. I'll take wireframes if you don't have mock-ups, but I'd prefer to see, like, wireframes turn into some nice, clean mocks by a good designer. So let's get it to the next phase, and then we can actually really have a more deeper conversation. Because right now you got a great idea in a space that nobody's figured out. That means potential opportunity. You got 2 angel investors here who kind of like the idea. One with domain expertise in it, who just spent 3 years on the board of a company trying to do it. So you're in the right town. You're fishing in the right lake. But we just need to see a little bit more. You agree? I mean, right now it's like you can't make an investment decision until you see some of the track record.
Agreed. So. And a lot of people are focused on this space, so, get busy.
Yeah. Speed is important. All right, good job, Tim.
Thank
I like
you
it. You did a good job. All right, Tim did a good job. Do we have our next one?
Yep.
Awesome. Is he Skyping in?
Yeah, but just audio.
Oh, Skyping in on just the audio, so we'll hear him on the studio monitor here. Okay, I'm getting a little reverb.
He's got to turn on.
So,
hello?
Yeah, so Pablo, if you are listening to the show, please turn down your sound. Pablo, can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Perfect.
Hello, Jason. Hello, Mark. How are you?
We're good. Is this how long you been listening to the show? What's your favorite guest so far?
Since the beginning, I think Gary broke it last week.
Really? Well, this is Gary's
Yes.
everybody's favorite guest. And your favorite segment on the show is?
I think Ask Jason.
Oh, okay. So you like the Q&A format. Very good. And what's your favorite insight from Tyler to date? Any favorite insights from Tyler?
That's probably the wheels, the wheelchairs at Disney.
Yeah, wheelchair. It's like a wheelchair at Disney is pretty much the epic one. I'd like to ask a super fan to do me a favor. I would like a T-shirt that just says "like a wheelchair at Disney." That's it. And maybe a little wheelchair on the side. I don't know if it's offensive or not. Is that offensive? Like a wheelchair at Disney? Is it fun? You know what that means, right?
No. Why don't you tell me?
No, none of us do. Okay, so.
Wait, I need to take time out. I need to explain the.
No.
Keep it a mystery.
Is it inside baseball?
It's a very simple concept.
I understand it. Let's hear the pitch.
Okay.
Go ahead, Pablo.
Okay, so the problem we are trying to solve is wasted time. You're at the gym, you are commuting, you are walking the dog, and you're wasting time. Your body is doing something, but your mind isn't. You are bored. If you like books, the answer is simple, Audible. But what if you want to keep up with your blogs? That's where we come in. At hereablog.com, we narrate blogs, so you can listen to them in your iPod, in your Zune, whatever. They just work like a podcast, and our business model is like a podcast based on advertisement. The application is already working. We have many blogs, of which we have 2 high-profiles. One, Jason Cohen of A Smart Bear, Peldi of Balsamic. They're really happy with the service, and generally our feedback is quite good. But we want to grow. We want to build new features and actually get sponsors, and we also need investment.
Okay, so the concept is Hear a Blog, and the domain name is Hear, HEARABLOG. Correct?
Yes.
And
Yes.
I'm looking at the page right now, and it says you convert blog post to audio with an actual person's voice, so you can hear your favorite blogs while you're on the go. So you are paying somebody to do an audio book of somebody's blog.
Yes.
So this isn't like some computer program reading the blog to me like...
No,
actually
it's
a human
delicious
being.
for us not to do that.
I think this is a great idea, and I can't believe that this is not bigger, because there are a lot of people's blogs who I would like to read, and I'm a big into audiobooks. I love Audible, obviously, and I'm at the poker table, wasting time, countless hours. I am walking tourists and fondue, so your pitch is resonating with me. I would like to actually hear some of these, and I think you need. Do you charge for this, or is it going to be sponsor based?
It's sponsor based.
See, I don't know if
If
that's.
you want
I mean,
to-
I would pay for this if it was some blogger I like if I don't know, if it was Jeff Jarvis. I would pay for, I don't know, $10 a year or something, or $1 a month. I mean, maybe $15 a year. If Jeff would read all of his posts and I would get them all, or if it was Fred Wilson as an example, I would actually pay.
So you would pay as a listener.
As a listener, I would pay $20 or $30 a year to get every single Fred Wilson post in an MP3 email to me or RSS feed into my iTunes. Yes, I would.
Whoa! You're the second time that's offering to pay us. The first one is a blogger.
So, and why are you limiting this only to blogs? I mean, what about taking
New York Times.
the New York Times or something else and reading it to people?
Actually, we are not. Our system is prepared to deal with much more. We are trying to focus on one vertical and try to figure that one and then move to other ones.
Okay, so where are you based?
I'm in Switzerland. My partner is in Argentina.
So you're in Switzerland, they're in Argentina. You've been doing this for how long?
4 months.
4 months. Okay. And
It's not full time. It's our spare time project.
A spare time project. Okay.
Yes.
Mark, what do you think? I have the site up here, so you can pull the site up so Mark can see it.
Oh, sorry. If you want to listen to them, you can go to the Let's Hear tab.
Yeah, I see it.
And
I
there
got
you
it.
have yeah. Okay.
Okay, so can we pull up my laptop on the screen here? You can see it here, Mark.
Yeah, no, I saw it.
So what are your thoughts?
You know, listen, I would start with, as a consumer, I love the idea. And like you, I would pay for it. So I think there's probably a large niche of people who would pay for that. And I have the feeling that those are people who sponsors would like to have access to, because I think it's busy executives who would want to listen to this. So I think that's wonderful. As an investor, probably not. I can see this being a nice middle-sized business. I'm not sure that it will be a huge business. I also tend not to invest in part-time projects. I tend to invest less in distributed teams that are, multiple continents away. But I think I would love to see him be successful, and I will be a paying user if he turns on paid subscriptions.
Okay.
Can I answer to that?
Yes.
So we actually went to school together. I moved to Zurich because I got hired by Google here. It's not our plan to do it part-time forever. The first time when we got the investment, we will work on that full-time, both of us. And of course, we'll move to work on it together.
Okay. So you guys need to get a little bit of, you have to raise, how much money are you looking to raise in your angel round? Do you have a goal? No. Okay. So here's some advice. I would be very definitive about what you're looking for. The more definitive you are with investors, the more confidence they'll have in you. So when I was starting Mahalo, I said I want to raise $4 million at this price under these terms. And I didn't even say that's what I want to do. I said this is what I'm doing. So when I spoke to the VCs and to the angel investors, I said I'm raising $4 million at this valuation with these terms. Are you interested? We'd love to work with you. Or are you interested in sending a term sheet? And that made it a lot easier. If you don't know what you want, then they start looking at it going, oh, maybe these guys aren't serious. They just want to get a couple of $1 million, and you just got to come in and say, I need $500,000, and this is where $500,000 is going to take me. This is what we're comfortable with in terms of valuation. You should be you should be giving the details up front so that they can respond to them. What do you think about that?
Could I riff off that a little bit? I'd say some of that I completely agree with. So first of all, I think you need to know exactly how much you want to raise, exactly how far it's going to get you, what the milestones are. The thing I would be careful about is when you were raising money for Mahalo, you already had a reputation. People knew who you were.
Sure.
It's easier for you to name price. I usually encourage first-time entrepreneurs not to name price. Look, it's a very well-trodden path. We know how much $500,000 is going to buy in a company. So more or less the price is telegraphed. But I think you want to seem a little bit humble, and by not naming price, you don't scare some people away. And so I would just encourage you not to do that. And the last thing, and I'll just be a little bit controversial about this, is quit your job. Like if you're really an entrepreneur, you're going to quit your job and go freaking do this. And if you're not, it tells me you're not really sure about it and you're not that convinced. And I know that not everyone has the economic means, but I see people all day long who pitch me, who have 3 people living in a house, sleeping on couches, eating Taco Bell, finding ways because they're convinced that what they're building is greater than any other opportunities they have. And I think that's the sign of an entrepreneur. I'm looking for that before I put my money in.
Right. Yeah, I think that's a good point. People, I think, you're giving a lot of information during this process of raising money. And if the piece of information you're giving is, I might do this project if you give me permission by giving me money, but I'm not so passionate about it that I'm not going to do it if it's not with your money, that's at no risk to me. People go, well, wait a second. That doesn't make any sense to me. You're waiting for me to take the risk and then you'll take some risk? That's not taking risk at all. And so he's right. If they feel like you're doing this with or without them, that creates a sense of urgency. That's what I always like.
And a sense that you really believe it's a big idea. Because if you don't believe it's a big idea, why should I believe it?
Right. And I think in this case here, a blog, you have a little boutique idea that I think both Mark and I, and probably Tyler, I don't know how he feels about it, think could become something bigger. I mean, Audible actually, did I think try having some non-professional book people do this kind of a thing, but maybe it's something that they're not focused on. I don't know. Somebody can research for that and tell me in the Ustream room. But let me ask people in the Ustream room if they could rate the pitch. How did you think Pablo did here with his blogging thing, his blogging audiobook project?
Herablog.
Herablog. Just 8 out of 10. That's good. What did you think of his pitch? So any feedback you can give. I think you did good, Pablo. I think 6 of 10, 8.5. It was a pretty good pitch. I think it's also very small. it felt very small and boutiquey to me, which I don't like. I like something that is like, maybe here's the big vision and here's the first step, and it's one of 30 steps. So we're going to start with blogs in the political space, or we're going to start with business-to-business blogs because we know there's a market there for paid. Once we establish ourselves there, then we're going to try to get sponsors to underwrite doing TMZ or Perez Hilton or things that are music, because we know that you maybe having a sponsor say this is brought to you free by will get that going, whatever. So I would have liked to see a bigger.
I think you're spot on. That's exactly it.
Bigger. Okay, good job.
Thanks, Pablo.
Can I ask you one more question?
Yeah, go ahead.
How can we get sponsors, advertisers?
Yeah, so the way to get sponsors is to find somebody who I would say is endemic to the space, somebody who has a vested interest in the space, somebody who has an affinity towards the space. So if you had something that was music and you found somebody who just really Sonos, let's say, somebody who's passionate about music, and they have a product that if they just sell 1 unit or 2 units is going to really make them happy, you can approach them and try to show them, like, hey, we're passionate about this 5 music blogs that we've now put on audio. People can subscribe to the stream. We've already got 300 people. If you sponsor it, we think we can get it to 3,000, and we're going to give you this introductory rate that's really low to sponsor it. And we understand you're not going to get the CPM doesn't work out yet, but we're really going to help push you, which if you've listened to my show, when I do those thank yous, I'm giving a very personal thank you to everybody. I'm really trying to, goose it up a little bit. So you can get advertising 2 ways. One is you have the scale and they come to you because they need the scale and they need your reach. The other one is you can start to sell them your passion, and it's a passion project, which was what we did on Weblogs Inc. So that just requires hustle. I mean, most people are going to say it's too small, and you're going to have to knock on 20 doors to get one yes. I don't know how to say it more clearly. I mean, even if you have scale, you got to knock on 5 doors to get one. When you don't, it's 20 to 1.
You have a unique sort of advantage on the sponsorship front because a lot of these blogs have sponsors already.
That's a good point.
And they might want to find a sponsor the audio version as well, for an additional.
And then you do a rev share potentially with
Totally.
with the blog itself.
I guess what these guys are what Tyler's telling you is don't sell it. Let somebody else sell it. So you go to the Federated Media blogs and you say, hey, Federated Media, we have this service that will read all of the Boing Boing blog posts. Boing Boing already has IBM as a sponsor. Want to ask IBM if they want to do a commercial at the start of every single blog post or at the end or in between or whatever? Maybe they will. It would just be an add-on. It's like one more box they check for $10,000 a month on their $50,000 a month buy. So I think that a partnership with a Federated Media or somebody like that could be good. I mean, they could also steal the idea, and then you'd be really screwed. But people are going to steal your ideas if they're good anyway, so you just got to move fast. Is that helpful, Pablo?
Yes, a lot.
All right, Pablo.
Nice.
So you got to check in with us in 30. I'm giving you an official prescription. The prescription says bigger vision, definitive look at what you want to get out of the investors, and
Target vertical.
Target a vertical, maybe a little more strategy, and we'll talk again in 30 months. Okay?
30 months?
Okay.
30 days.
Yeah.
30 days. That's what I said. Do we have the Ask Jason?
No.
We don't. Okay. So then we're done with this segment of the show. Correct, Alex?
Yeah.
Okay. So that went okay.
Yeah, I thought it was good. I think you had 2 good presenters.
Pretty good. Pretty good. Dozens of people a week asked to present.
Do you pre-screen them or?
Yeah.
Yeah.
These guys do. I don't hear it until it's live. I don't.
Gotcha.
I don't want to know any of the questions or anything until I hear it on the air because I want it to be like a real, genuine reaction to it.
They were well screened. I do a Saturday program on Fox Business sometimes, and sometimes you get really hairball callers, and I keep telling them they got to screen. It's not that you want to have things that are prepackaged, but there are a certain number of people you need to box out.
There are crazy people out there. Yeah, of course. I mean,
I got a question once about someone trying to raise money for a salad dressing, and he was nervous that someone would steal his idea. And I asked him, how many stores are you in already? And he didn't have any. He had the recipe. And I'm like, what the F am I taking this call for?
yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. I mean, I think people overestimate the value of their ideas.
Yeah.
They actually think their idea is what you're going to invest in. What do you look for when you're investing in a company?
Yeah, so what do I look for? I mean, really, I say 70% of my decision is the management team. 30% of my investment is the idea, right? Because you have to marry those two things. So really it's about the team, and a lot of it's about the proof. I mean, Pablo's a perfect example. If I picked up correctly, I think he works for Google, so hopefully he didn't give his last name out. And
yeah, how many Pablos in Switzerland work for Google? Yeah, Argentinian living in Switzerland.
I think he said he worked for Frugal, right? That was, yeah. So, so listen, I'm looking for certain attributes of a real entrepreneur, and a real entrepreneur is 1 in 1,000, or maybe, you know, the odds are even worse than that. It's that person who's driven, maniacal, has already quit their day job because they can't imagine doing anything else. They see this idea, they're afraid that someone else is going to steal the idea if they don't do it first. And I often get the people who come into my office and they say, well, here's 3 guys who are part-time and they're going to join me as soon as I get funded. And, you know, I try to be helpful, but sometimes I get a bit cheeky and I say to them, I say, well, you know, I got to be honest, you're not an entrepreneur. And the guy will look across the table, or the woman will look across the table, and they'll say, like, what are you talking about? I said, well, listen, if you were an entrepreneur, those 3 people would have already quit their jobs. Why?
Right.
Because you would have had that inspiration, that magic dust that they quit to join you.
Right.
And the fact that they haven't says that there's probably not something here. And to which they then say, oh, no, because I'm married and I just bought a house and I got a mortgage. So I looked them in the eye and said, well, you're probably not an entrepreneur because you should keep your day job to pay for your mortgage.
Right.
Entrepreneurs are maniacal and driven, and they have this idea. So I'm looking for that focus.
Level of risk-taking.
Yeah.
That level
of risk-taking, and they've already done something, they're not talking about it. I usually like second-time entrepreneurs, mostly because I effed up everything on my first company, and I just realized that first-time entrepreneurs make similar mistakes. The other thing I'm looking for is domain experience in what someone's doing.
Sure.
It's not absolutely required, but it certainly helps, right?
I mean, depending on what you're doing. I mean, if you're building a marketplace for the sale of chemicals and you know nothing about the chemical business, what are you going to...
I mean, you're a smart guy, but if you chose to go into like secondary lending for autos, you know, where people are selling secondary paper on autos, which, by the way, I mean, we love that market.
Right.
No matter how talented you are as an entrepreneur, you don't have credibility in that. So
right. I would have to get somebody on my team who did, and then why would I be running the team and not them?
Yeah, so domain experience and all matters. Team dynamics matter. I think that's something people overlook. I see a lot of teams where I'm not convinced that the configuration of CEO and their other senior person makes sense. And because, you know, the teams blow up over time, you know, if there's not that great sort of...
What do you think of this co-CEO nonsense? I don't want to front load the question, but
but you did.
But I did. Sorry, but I mean, I hear this a lot. Like, oh, we're co-CEOs. I'm like, really? What does that work? Do you get that a lot, or?
We get it from time to time.
Right.
Unsurprisingly, I'm not a big fan.
Why?
Because, well, look, at the end of the day, so I told you I effed up everything in my first company, and you know, I had worked in consulting before that, so everything was about consensus, right? But startups aren't consensus. It's every day making hard decisions, and there are times where you disagree, right? And you need someone who separates those out and makes clear decisions. And you know, I think co-CEO creates unstable situations in companies because if they start to fight about direction of company, there's no easy way to resolve it. And everyone masks over it, and they mask over it because of Larry and Sergey and the 2 chaps from
neither of
YouTube.
which, by the way, are the CEO.
Yeah, no, I agree.
I mean, Eric Schmidt's the CEO, so it's sort of a misnomer.
But in the early days, right? Or they gloss over YouTube or whatever. So you can always find an exception to try and make it the rule. But the reality is the road is littered with management teams that have blown up. And so I don't like it. I think it's an unstable sense of the world.
I get that same feeling. And so you said you like first-time entrepreneurs.
Second-time entrepreneurs.
Second-time entrepreneurs,
or
because the first time they screwed up. You think that the people who you see coming in with a failure under their belt, would you rather have somebody who's come in with a failure or somebody who's come in with no experience? Or, you know, no.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
I thought you were going to say our success. I'm going to say obvious choice, right? I would much rather have a failure.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, you know, there's an old saying that I picked up along the way, which is good judgment comes from experience, but experience comes from bad judgment. Right? So, you know, here's the thing, like as a parent, you can tell your kids, look, don't drink too much, or this girl that you're dating, you know, don't think she's going to be the love of your life, but you can't.
Right, she'll break your heart.
You can't learn your kids' lessons for them. Right. You have to go through it.
They have to have too many drinks and then get that dry heaves and start heaving and puking and
wake up in a parking lot having lost their license and not knowing where they are. Right. Not that ever happened to me, but but listen, once you've been through that, you develop a certain resiliency. And the other thing I would tell you is this. I often talk about the Kool-Aid hype curve, right? Where entrepreneur raises money, gets in the press, builds product, everyone wants to join, raises venture capital, and it's all up, right?
Yeah.
But most of us go through that down phase,
Sure.
right? And when
Or sideways.
Or sideways. But when you're going up, but
Right.
usually it's down before sideways.
Yeah.
And when you're heading up, I think you believe the hubris too much, and you fall. So, for example, a very good deal, a company in town was in that hype curve, and first-time CEO. And I said to him, I said, look, he wanted to go buy a bunch of companies, and I said, but you haven't proven your core business. And he's like, oh, but I can assemble all these things. Buying companies is what you do when you're on the way in the hype curve in the very first company you've been in, right? But when you learn that after you acquire those companies, it's very hard to integrate, and you still, if you haven't figured out your core business, you're not going to figure it out by acquiring other businesses, right? A lot of companies make similar mistakes in the hype curve, and once you've corrected and come out, I think you're a much better leader.
Never get high on your own supply.
Yeah.
Would be the way I stated in the
Okay.
show. People
Yeah.
tend to get all this press, they
Yeah.
get the venture capital, and they think they've won.
Yeah.
And those are signals of quality, certainly, that getting press, hiring great people,
Yeah.
having a wire transfer come in from a VC, these are signals that you're doing something right.
Right.
But they don't mean that you've succeeded.
Yeah.
And that's the problem, is people actually think, oh, I've raised the money, I'm successful. No.
I don't know how you feel. I felt that way my first company. The way I say it is don't drink your own Kool-Aid. I was there. I mean, we were on front page of Financial Times, Wall Street Journal, the top VC magazine in Europe. We'd raised a bunch of money. I was in the private wine cellars of Bernard Arnault in France with the CEO of Dell and Sony. And I just thought I was the bomb, right? And then, you know, it becomes self-fulfilling because everyone tells you the bomb you think you are, right? And I was the bomb until I wasn't.
Yeah, I mean,
And
I
it all
think
ended quickly.
this is what happens to people who go fly on somebody else's private plane, or you know, they are at somebody's mansion for the weekend, and they all of a sudden think, hey, this is my life. And it's like, no, this is not your life. You just are visiting. And you're seeing what that life is like.
And you think about like TechCrunch 50, for example, because let's say the top 5 or 10 companies, probably all 50, but particularly the top 5 or 10, they get so much attention. And they confuse that attention with success. But success is a dirty, gritty world of actually moving the ball forward a couple of feet every day. And I just I see that happen to so many companies.
We have this discussion with them at TechCrunch 50 specifically of how to deal with it. Like, don't believe your own hype. Don't
But
believe
I got
your
to tell you,
press.
because I've seen a lot of those companies
Since
already,
then,
and they're in that hype curve.
Yeah, it's hard. I mean, they get a ton of attention, and they have to know they have to learn how to deal with it.
If you've been through it before and you've been humbled by it, the next time out, you just don't believe your own hype as much. You know, Public Enemy, don't believe your own hype.
I always
don't believe the hype.
Don't believe the hype, right? I mean, I always think these things are just weird reflections, like the House of Mirrors when you go to the fun house. And it's like, sometimes the press makes you look 10 feet tall, sometimes it makes you look 3 feet tall. Sometimes you look like a fat bastard, sometimes you look like you're anorexic. It doesn't matter, they're just mirrors. The reality is you're standing in front of the mirror, you gotta look to yourself. How do I actually look? How does my product actually look? How's my user base? And that kind of stuff. It's all nonsense.
It's funny, we have the same analogy. So I wrote a blog post called We're All Naked in the Mirror. And what I saw happen was in my company, it seemed like everything was in the, crapper, I guess is that I can say that.
Sure.
And yet we would read the press release of every other company, and we're like, God, man, why are they nailing it? Why are they getting customers and biz dev deals and all this stuff? And in a way, in a startup, you're all naked in the mirror because you see all your problems. And what I also encourage companies is not to believe everyone else's press releases, because everyone else is wearing their best outfit and you see them, but they're still looking at themselves naked in the mirror and seeing where they don't look good, right? So
it's a ton of nonsense,
but you can also have the opposite effect, which is this: you see the distortion from the inside, but secretly they're seeing the distortion on the inside, reading your press releases, wondering why you're nailing everything.
It's really like a poker game. Like, what are the cards you actually have versus what are you representing?
Exactly.
I mean, that's what it comes down to. So you've invested in a couple companies. I know one of them now because you just did a blog post on this Adly, ad.ly. And I didn't realize that was yours. You invested. They raised $500,000 in seed. And Dan Gould is involved.
He is.
An advisor and an investor from PhotoBucket.
Both.
Is Dan Gould going to be on the program at some point? He's LA-based. He's got a Tesla. That's orange.
He's a star. And
he did PhotoBucket.
No, he didn't do PhotoBucket. He did Nuru.
He did Nuru.
Peter Pham did PhotoBucket.
Peter Pham did. He's one of the News Corp acquisitions from Web 2.0. Where he did. So anyway, ad.ly has Dr. Drew, Kim Kardashian, LeVar Burton, all these people who were on the suggested user list.
And Jason Calacanis.
Not yet.
Oh, no?
No.
Okay.
Well, so the basic idea of it is well, they say, this is how they say it themselves, in-stream advertising on Twitter, whatever that means, connecting top-tier Twitter with top-tier brands. So basically it's pay-per-post through Twitter, and you buy, and there's like 50 people doing this right now.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody and their uncle has set this up in the last 90 days to do this. Why did you decide to invest in this one? Because it seems like everybody has this idea of, now that Kim Kardashian has 2.3 million followers, gee, that's worth something. She's probably going to send 10, 20, 30, 40,000 people to any link you put in there, I would guess, maybe.
Well, let me say it this way, okay? Let me start with, when we invested, there were two main competitors, right? But the competitors were just started. So it's not a me too. It's not like I'm trying to create the 8th video site, you know, after YouTube. So it's a very early idea. What I like...
this is ground zero. I don't mean to see that they're like, they followed 50 companies, but there are 50 people pursuing this at once.
So what I would say is this. Again, my investment thesis is team.
Right.
Sean Rad, the CEO, is a phenomenal young talent in LA. He was on his second company. I met him on his first. His first was called Orgu. It was a good idea, but not a great idea, so I chose not to invest. The 30% didn't work on the first one, the idea piece. But on the second one, when you look at Sean being surrounded by other great people, Brian Norgard, Dan Gould, Evan Rifkin, and the team just has some magic in it. What do I like about in-stream advertising? Well, think of it this way. What was successful about, so we invested in Overture. We knew a lot about intent-based search, and that's what intent-based advertising, that's what Google has been successful about. You type something in a search query bar, and for me, I'm 41 years old, I have 2 little kids, and I say Halloween costume. There's a high probability I'm looking for something in Halloween costume.
Right.
Then people confuse that in social networks. They said, okay, Mark's 41. Now we actually know from the social network he lives in Santa Monica and, you know, Brentwood and does these other things. And they put an ad and they expect me to click on it. But I didn't show intent to do that just because it's before Halloween. Here's what's important to me about the stream. I've chosen on Twitter, on Facebook, on other places who I want to follow. I trust those people. So as long as those people authentically place ads, they're people I trust, and they authentically place ads, my click-through rate is going to be much higher. Now, CTR, click-through rates, on Twitter are off the charts in terms of engagement.
Compared to a banner ad, you might get a 1, 2, 3% with Twitter as opposed to a 0.01, 0.02.
Sure.
So it's 10x, but it's still low single digits, but yes.
But even Google AdSense and Google AdWords aren't getting 10% clicks, right?
Sure,
so if you have a large following, so on Twitter today was at 60 million or something like that, and growing, and Facebook is 300 million and growing. So if you have a large enough base, even with small numbers, you can do well. So I would point this out to you, Jason. Like at the start of your show, you mentioned sponsors, right? People like Audible.com. Now, you're not going to mention, I don't think, some awful company porn site just because they give you 50 grand or whatever.
I'm sorry, did we have a deal for 50 grand? Where is this deal? I didn't see the 50 grand porn deal.
It was iPorn, wasn't it?
Yes.
No, but you get my point.
No, I get
you care about your reputation.
Yes,
so
we're not going to put on advertising, so therefore there is some level of filtering.
Exactly.
Therefore, it's a little bit authentic. But when I, in fairness, put it out to my list, people were like, I will unfollow you instantly.
Now, let me say 2 things. One is...
And a lot of people said that.
No, let me say this, though. 2 things. One is, at the start of your show, you didn't say, on This Week in Startups, who thinks I shouldn't pimp out companies for the first 8 minutes, right? Or 2 minutes or whatever it was.
Yeah.
So if you ask
if
you ask the question on Twitter, who thinks I should not do advertising, of course you know what the answer is going to be. If you would have just written an ad, and if it was an authentic, legitimate ad, I'm nearly positive you wouldn't have seen any negative responses. Why? Because we've run people with 10 times the followers that you have, and not one single negative response. So
yeah, but then again, you know, those are the people. Those are like these people who didn't earn their followers, like Dr. Drew and Kim Kardashian, LeVar Burton, Joel, Nicole Richie, and Greg Gernberg. These are all on the suggested user list.
But do you want to know something? When you look at the curve, the distribution curve, people with middle tier followers, let's say people who have 10,000, 15,000, 20,000, the click-through rate and performance is order of magnitude higher than the stars, right?
Well, that's because the stars have people who are all the spam accounts signing up for it, all this kind of stuff. If they have 1 million people, they probably in reality have 300,000. It's just so many.
Very well might be.
Yeah.
But I think as long as the ad is authentic,
I saw, okay.
engaging. And so let me give you the example, and I'll relate it back to the caller from Shout By. If I go to see a great film, if I go to a great meal in town, and I want to tell people about that, and I put it in my tweet stream, I don't think my users and people who follow me would be hugely off-put by that, as long as I maintain authenticity.
Right.
If I'm, pimping out tampons, I can understand if I get a large unfollowing base.
Yeah. Interestingly, I am now listed here on the site.
That's what I thought.
Yeah, but I didn't.
I thought Tyler signed you up.
No, I signed up, but I never get permission to be on this list. But that's okay. It'd probably just be a little clearer. So that's interesting. I don't know if it's going to work or not. I think for charity, like I do speaking gigs for charity. So if somebody gave me $10,000 to do a tweet or sponsor me for the week, and they put it towards the, high school in Brooklyn I'm on the board of, I would do it.
Right.
And I wouldn't care if I lost those people. To be totally honest, if I lost it. So to a certain extent, as much as I don't want to be behind this idea, I probably would do it if it was for charity, because that sort of motivates me.
And I put all my stuff into charity as well. I just think, listen.
I just hate people using the charity end run to sort of insert advertising to social media, but social media is advertising because everybody's got something to sell.
Let me say one thing, and this is for a person who's worked in and around advertising a long time. Advertising drives innovation. I mean, without advertising, there's no Gmail, there's no Google Maps, there's no Google Books.
It's just something about, I guess it's going to have to be advertising somewhere in it.
Either
so if you make
that
it very
or people
clear,
need to pay, and I think it's going to be a combination of both.
I mean, and if you look at these celebrities, I mean, that's all they're talking about is their next project anyway.
Right.
So if Kim Kardashian is just, I mean, she's insufferable, but
let's look at the difference.
She's talking about her private planes and blah, blah, blah.
But look at the difference between that and MySpace, okay? Historically, MySpace has had all these same stars, but the stars put all their information on MySpace. There was no cut for them, right? There's no incentive to increase the quality and build, to send out quality messages and really engage their audience. In this particular format, we actually share the revenue, significant portion, with the publisher themselves. I think it's a good idea. Listen, but it's a great team, and that's what I'm mostly behind.
Well done.
Thank you.
And there's another one you did recently, GumGum.
Yes.
What exactly is that?
So, GumGum is image licensing marketplace where what they do is they take publishers on the internet who today pay static price for images, and they take people who create those images and they create a variable pricing marketplace. So instead of paying, let's say, $200 an image, you pay by the CPM. What it allows is the publishers, if they have posts that don't perform well, they can control their costs on a variable basis. And the same for the image owners. If you hit it out of the ballpark, because I shot a great shot of Kim Kardashian, I don't know who gets high prices for images, Britney Spears or something, you can share in the upside. The other thing I would tell you is 70% of all image views are back catalog, not when it first ran. And there's very little monetization. So what we do is, on first run, it's variable pricing. On second run, we put an ad on it. Right? So there's an ad unit on.
So what is the cost, what is the CPM cost like on it?
If I'm totally honest with you, I don't know the exact CPM prices they're getting because they're experimenting with different models. But our focus now is on distribution. We now have 50 million uniques of people who
we
are
have
carrying
Gawker,
it.
so that's probably.
They have Gawker, New York Post, Glam, TMZ.
Yeah, I remember these guys came and asked me about it because this has been around for a little while now.
It has.
They came and pitched me on it because they were on to ask me if I would have used it on Weblog Sync, and I said yes.
I don't know if I can announce this on the air, so I will only half announce it, which is I spent 15 months with those guys, and I think they're phenomenally talented. What I struggled with in the first year was, again, the 30%. The idea wasn't big enough to me. And they got great money, Crosscut here in town.
Look at Howard Morgan.
And first round capital,
and
Howard's
David Sachs,
great
a friend of mine.
Mike Jones is involved.
Mike Jones,
So it's a great team. But the individual entrepreneurs are phenomenal. Now, they came to me, and I just kept saying, not yet, not yet, not yet. But 15 months in, I'm like, man, you guys got a great idea. And that great idea has not yet been announced. It's going to be announced in November. And they've created the next generation of what their product's going to become. And I got to tell you, it's the biggest idea that I've heard in LA in the last 12 months.
Wow. And so these guys, high praise, you invested in their seed round or
No,
what?
they had already done an A round. I like to call it an A prime round.
A prime round.
Well, like
what does that mean? Like an A plus?
A plus, whatever. No, like the ordinary A rounds tend to be, call it $2 to $3 million.
Right.
Ordinary B rounds used to be $5 to $7 million. I'm just such a believer in capital efficiency. And so even though they'd done their initial round, I can't remember, it was $1.5 million or so, our total round size with them, I think, was 2.6. And what I said to them was, A, I believe in capital efficient businesses, so I don't want us to overinvest right now. But B, I want you to retain a large stake in the company.
Yeah.
And so we put a small amount at a fair price. And if we build out the way we hope to, then we'll probably be back out in a year raising more money.
Very good. Anything else that you guys have invested in recently that of note?
So we did another great company in Santa Barbara called Ring Revenue. And what
ringtones?
No, not at all. What it does is it allows you to track phone calls in the way that people track clicks today. So it creates a performance-based channel using phone numbers. So what we did is we said, if you look at affiliate networks, which is a $2 billion market, Commission Junction, LinkShare, ShareASale, Performix, people like that, the average price of a product in that channel is $80. It's teeth whitening, hair loss, weight loss, and whatever, right? But fundamentally, the publishers would like to be able to sell higher value products, right? If you're a website that has 100,000 users focused on healthcare, you might like to sell, for example, treadmills, right? That cost $2,000 to $4,000. But no one's going to buy a treadmill in 3 clicks. You want to call, talk to a rep, see how they look, right? So what we enable is for the publisher to be able to publish a number, pick up the phone, call, say, I want to know the difference between those 5 treadmills. But what happens is that call gets routed through our system and then patched through to a call center of the supplier, and the whole thing is recorded and tracked and scored.
Sounds like Yext from TechCrunch 50.
It is very similar to Yext. Although
they did a monster round, huh?
25 million, yeah. Although that company's slightly different, but it's similar to what VoiceStar and Ingenio tried to become. But they like Ingenio got wrapped up in horoscopes and porn, and I think
this whole idea of like tracking the lifespan of the phone call, transcribing it into text, and giving it a a categorization.
Yeah.
And, this sort of it's a good idea. It could revolutionize the way calls are handled.
And importantly, what we do is we track performance so that the person who's paying for the lead ultimately can pay based on call length. They can pay based on where the call was originated from. They can pay based on keywords. So they could say, if the following keywords appear, we'll pay $18. If they don't appear, we'll pay $5. So there's a lot of interesting technology. Now the company is built by 3 guys who had all built an IPO'd a company before. The company was called CallWave. So it's Jason Spivak, Rob Duva, and Colin Kelly, and they were all there, IPO'd it. They got the band back together, second company.
Very nice. And so a lot of people talking about venture capital being broken, too much money out there.
Yeah.
You buy that?
Yeah, I do.
How is it broken?
So listen, I fundamentally believe there was way too much money that went into venture capital. That causes 2 distinct problems. And Paul Kudrowski talked a lot about this in a paper published, he was a Kaufman fellow, published it. Number one is you had too many money managers in the industry. And if you take money from people who fundamentally don't understand how to help and nurture entrepreneurs, I think it leads to bad companies, bad outcomes. And that's what's happened. But the other problem is this. I like to say that having less funding in the market is actually better for entrepreneurs, and I don't think it's just self-serving for me to say that. Here's the problem.
Even though it is, yes. So.
But here's why I think it's not. Is when I raised money the first time, I had 8 competitors get funded, and all of them raised $10, $12, $15 million.
The Me Too.
Not only Me Too, but they were giving it away free because they were going to get their $40 million round, and I was trying to charge for it up front. And so when I have a $2,000 a month price point,
it distorted the market.
It does distort the market.
For a long time. Sometimes.
For a long time, and what it means is that great innovators and entrepreneurs don't build as healthy a company. And I think that with less capital, we'll build healthier companies.
And more discipline, less capital. So yes, I agree to a certain extent. There was the Urban Fetch and Cosmo price wars that they both ran off the side of the cliff.
Yeah, and
along with WebVan. All of them had too much money. They all just ran off the side of the cliff.
I mean, look at, for example, I don't know, locally here, if you saw Ripple TV and...
yeah, that crashed and burned.
Crashed and burned.
What they were doing like...
so they were putting up TV screens and Coffee Bean and Tea Leaf and similar things. And what
that hasn't worked for anybody.
No, except in China. So
except in China, right.
There was Focus Media that had a $6 billion market cap. So guess what? All the money pours in saying, well, worked in China, right? And so there was this big war where they'd all raised $25 million with no revenue.
Right.
And we were getting offered, oh, my friend, have I got a deal for you? Only 40 or 50 million pre-money. Well, hang on a second. You got sub 1 million in revenue, not Ripple, but just the industry in general. And that whole industry is just blown through probably $100 million and not a single success to show for it.
Yeah, sometimes it's a distraction. I think I like to raise money at a large scale and then deploy it on a small scale.
There you go.
That, I think, is the ultimate. If, as an entrepreneur, if you have the credibility to raise a lot of money at very big valuations and then deploy it like you're a first-time entrepreneur. That's how I do it.
With one exception, and I heard you say this one time before, and I didn't want to say it because you were on stage at the time. I think in your situation it works, and for most entrepreneurs I advise against it. Why? Because if you raise a small amount of money at a small-ish valuation, it preserves your option value, because first-time entrepreneurs
of course. You can sell for $30 million. You can sell for $50 million.
Or 15, right?
Yeah, of course.
You know, you raise $1 million bucks at a 3.
You don't want to set the goalpost so far.
If it's too high, you can't get the exit.
You'll never get an exit.
And you've gotten an exit before, and so the next time you're shooting for the moon, I get that.
Yeah.
But for first-time or young entrepreneurs, if you haven't gotten your exit, raise small amounts, preserve your options. And as you scale, I always say to people, you have a choice. The choice is, do I want to sell for 15 or do I want to go for it?
Right.
And at that inflection point, your VCs, if you're successful, if you have good VCs, will allow you to take a little bit of cash off the table. And I think that's a healthy thing, because what it does is it aligns your incentive with the VCs to suddenly swing for the fences because your wife isn't busting your balls because, you know, she doesn't have a house yet. So if we align our incentives...
So you're cool with that, to take the $1 million, $2 million off the table?
If you have achieved something in the company, no question.
Is there an upper limit to that, you think? Or
yeah, I'd say, you know, city by city. In LA, call it $3 million upper limit for the top 2 guys.
Yeah.
It's got to be
$3 million each.
I'd say probably $3 million total.
Right. So enough that they can put a down payment on a really good house.
Exactly. I call it feed the family, right? You know, just take care of your family. Because I was that entrepreneur. I was on my second company. I had 2 little kids. You know, my wife was working at Google. We had this very kind of Silicon Valley existence, but I hadn't got my exit yet. And I just felt that pressure.
You need a house, you got private school, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah. And so in 1 year, we got 2 exits. I sold both of my companies within 12 months of each other. And if I ever did another startup, I'd feel like you do, right? Now I only want the monster outcome. But for young entrepreneurs, it's okay to get a double.
Absolutely. Let's bring in Lon for the news. Lon does the news. Lon is here to do the news. Alex is running behind the camera, very professional, Alex. You know, 2 people emailed me and said I gave Alex a hard time on the last show, and they thought it was very unprofessional. Did they not get the joke?
They don't watch Stern.
2 people were very upset that I gave you a hard time on the last show.
The users love it.
I think it was his...
They liked it.
The viewers love it.
They were mad at you for it. They were defending you.
They were a little upset over your treatment of Alex. It's true.
All right, everybody stop worrying about Alex. Alex works for me, okay? If Alex doesn't get his job done, he doesn't have to answer to the chat room. He's got to answer to me.
I presume you don't pull a Letterman on him, so, right?
No, no. I actually, in regard to that, I can tell you very clearly, this is my advice to entrepreneurs and people who are in business who are guys. I will never be alone with an employee. Never.
Any employee.
Maybe the top management team, it's Tyler and I, sure. But I don't put myself in situations where I'm alone with an employee.
Even a male employee?
Even a male employee. There's no reason for me to be alone with any employee.
What are you nervous about?
Just anything. Anybody can make any claim at any time that I said something inappropriate or whatever. So I have Elliot come in the room, or Tyler come in the room, or Lon, and these guys can tell you. I've always got 2 or 3 people in the room. If it's a firing, 3 people in the room, in addition to the person being fired. I don't want ever to have anybody be able to, and I've never been sued or anybody's claimed anything against me, because and as a matter of fact, I don't even like having doors. I sit outside. I don't have a door in my office. Nobody can ever say, Jason took me in his office and he said something inappropriate. What door?
Right.
And you know who I learned that from?
Who?
Mike Bloomberg.
Wow.
Mike Bloomberg had a desk outside a glass office room that the door was permanently opened, and he sat at his desk, and if he had to talk to somebody, he would talk to him in the glass, and there were no blinds. So nobody could ever say, like, he did this or that, because how did he do it? It was in the main floor of Bloomberg with the glass thing. I mean, it's impossible.
Gosh, if only Bill Clinton had thought that way.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, if you're trying to do these kind of things, then there's nothing that's going to save you. But you can, you're a target as an entrepreneur with a bunch of venture capital in your account. People will try to blackmail you. I mean, you've seen these things in business or heard these things.
Sure.
People will get blackmailed. People will, oh my God, this person was doing this, and I got I need to get this much more stock. I mean, there's all kinds of stuff that can go on.
Yeah.
You have to protect yourself as CEO.
I got threatened as well.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it is. As a CEO is crazy.
There could be other reasons, though, for being sort of ever present in front of a group of your employees instead of doing all your business behind closed doors.
Well, of course,
as well.
transparency.
Yeah, I mean,
Well,
transparency.
that's a big part
It's
of
a
it.
motivator for people that the boss is, sort of out there with you.
Do you ever feel like there's something going on at Mahalo that you don't know about?
No, not really.
Is there
it
some
would be
undercurrent?
impossible. It would be impossible.
What's
because
the
we're all
thing
sitting
you're
next to
worried
each other.
about that is some secret meeting you don't know about?
Yeah, no, they're us all sitting very close together in a bunch basically prevents that kind of office politics sort of
Zero.
interaction. It's
Yeah.
not possible because where are you going to go? Everybody can hear everything you say.
And if there is a problem, like we had a problem here with something and we had servers going down or whatever, we just talk about it frankly. Like, this is a problem. The servers can't go down for 3 hours. Why did it happen? And my philosophy is, as long as you learn from the mistake
Yeah,
and you correct the mistake,
yeah,
I'm fine.
for sure.
If you don't correct it and you didn't learn from it, then I'm not fine. Then we got
Yeah.
a major problem.
Yeah.
Anyway, this is the segment of everybody loves on the show, the news.
The news.
And let's hear the news.
All right, let's start with Motorola's Droid phone. The forthcoming Motorola Droid, the first Android 2.0 smartphone.
Yes.
Arrives in stores November 6th. About $200 with a 2-year contract from Verizon. Comes with a 5-megapixel camera with a flash and zoom built in, touchscreen and a slide-out keyboard, a couple other sort of bells and whistles. And unlike previous Verizon phones, you don't have to go through the Verizon App Store. They're going to let you go right through the Android market. There isn't this two competing App Store sort of deal like they used to do. So with all your recent problems with Apple, would you ever consider moving to an Android phone?
I am going to get one of these and start playing with it. I like to have a BlackBerry with me, and I like to have 2 phones on me at all times. In case one goes down, batteries, signal problem. Anyway, I'm in a unique situation. I'm going to definitely get one of these. It's a very significant platform. The number of people who are involved in Android is large, and this hardware is getting good. And the fact that you're going to be able to point your device to a URL and load any piece of software you want is important, critically important, since these are computers more than their phones.
Yeah.
And Apple, I predict, will have less market share than Android in 2, 3, 4 years. I think an open platform is going to win because it's too expensive, the iPhone. It'll always be too expensive, the way they go. There's going to be massive competition in the Droid space. There's going to be people going to look at it and go, I can get the Droid phone for free, or I can pay $100, $200 for Apple's. I don't think Apple will still be successful, but I think it'll be a 2-horse race.
A lot of the people are saying that it's the lack of games and sort of fun stuff on the Droid that is really holding them back. So do you think that's a long-term
I think that's
sort of issue?
that is a medium-term issue, I would say. Apple got off to the races with their platform.
Yeah.
However, if these other folks don't have to wait in line and give 30% to Apple,
Right.
that might be pretty motivating. So if you can buy it, if you can go directly to my site and load it and pay me directly, then I get 100% of the revenue, and your phone and your phone company has nothing to do with it. That can be beneficial. Of course, it's nice and easy to buy through Apple, so the ease of use of not having to put in your credit card is important. So I think it's going to be very successful. I think the apps are half of an issue, but it's not going to be too difficult to port applications either. And these applications are written basically in C++, from what I understand. So. They're going to be able to port them.
Another big question is the network, right? You know, I don't have an iPhone because I live in Brentwood, and there's absolutely no AT&T coverage where I live.
In the most affluent neighborhood in Los Angeles.
Yeah, and so, and by the way, before this, I lived in Palo Alto, like ground zero. Steve Jobs lived on my street, right?
Yeah.
No freaking AT&T coverage.
AT&T's a disaster.
Until
It's a big problem in West LA.
Yeah.
It's all over West LA.
I love the Verizon commercial. There's a
where I
map for
lose.
that.
Yeah.
As opposed to an app for
Right.
it, there's a map for it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a problem. But I think Apple is going to make it the iPhone available on other services soon.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
I would like to.
But it's going to be a lot of competition for this. I don't think Apple is going to keep the stranglehold on. I don't think Apple will develop a stranglehold on phones like iTunes. I don't think they'll be as pathetic as they are in the operating system on a percentage basis. So I don't think they're going to have single digits like, you know, they obviously have more right now, but they're not going to be a single digit competitor like they are in the PC space.
Right.
But they're not going to be an 85, 95% player like they are in the MP3 space. It'll be somewhere in between. It'll be a tweener business for them.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
you give such a wide goalpost, it's sort of hard to dispute that.
Yeah.
They'll be somewhere between 13% and 85%.
Well, I mean, I think it's impossible for them to beat
kidding.
these other players.
Yeah.
I mean, especially on a global basis. You have Nokia and Ericsson and some of these other people who, and Docomo, I mean.
Open wins.
Open wins.
Open wins.
So, I mean, in the MP3 space, I think that their 85, 95% market share in MP3 players is going to come to an end. I mean, you see that double helix software that came out.
Right.
There'll be more and more competitors to this stuff. And why can't I have my BlackBerry work on my iTunes? We have an insight from Tyler.
Insight from Tyler. Oh, who's
Insight from Tyler.
There you go.
Why didn't Apple learn this lesson? That, I mean, this essentially the same sort of scenario that's going on right now with the phone platforms, which is a little mobile computer, happened when early on when Macintosh had the head start over PCs, and everyone's raving about the Apple II, pre-Windows 95. Then Windows 95 comes out, and anyone can develop on. And yet you have all these hardware manufacturers that are building for it, just like the phones are now.
Very simple. At that time, Steve Jobs wasn't the Steve Jobs we see today. He wasn't as good at making product as he was, and I don't think that their product was as refined as it was. Their product became very refined when they moved to Unix for their operating system, and when Steve Jobs came back and made better hardware. So I think the hardware, their lead in hardware is so great right now in their design that it didn't used to be that way. An Apple computer was not as well designed than a compact. They were all the same. An Apple next to a compact, they all look the same. But something happened with Steve Jobs 2.0, Apple 2.0, where the design and the quality of the hardware and what it was capable of doing was much greater. That's what I think.
Right, but just the closed nature, you'd think he would learn that he really got bit on the closed nature of Apple.
I know, but you know what?
Caused him to lose last time.
Closed, if you're the greatest thing in town, works okay. So if you're the greatest restaurant in town or the greatest club, you can be a jerk off at the door because you're the best club in town. And until you got some competition, then it's harder. And the MP3 space doesn't have competition.
The other interesting thing on this that I haven't heard anyone mention yet is that, you know how Apple won't let the Google Voice thing in?
Yeah.
Yeah, they will.
And, well, they're going to have to, because when Google's phones start taking off and it has the Google Voice on it, and it turns the networks into dumb pipes, and people really see the advantage of, I could do everything for free on this freaking Google phone, and I have to...
Free texting?
Free everything.
Yeah.
Free everything.
Right.
And as opposed to having your iPhone and you have to work with iTunes and on this other phone.
Especially kids on a college campus, right? Like I can get on the Wi-Fi on my college campus, so I don't have to pay for any minutes on my phone. I can use VoIP.
Zip.
Done.
Yeah.
I agree. Apple's got some serious challenges with this. That's why I think they should be
even yesterday they go after like the TomTom and Garmin 2 days ago now.
Yeah.
So you can have your any Android based phone turn into a TomTom or Garmin.
Yeah.
Garmin dropped 20% stock, by the way, over 2 days.
That was a little bit of an overreaction because nobody's going to put nobody's going to drive with their phone like this. I mean, that's crazy.
You want to hear something surprising? I've seen it a lot in Europe because I spent a lot of time in Europe, and you watch people, and it's awful because it's Windows, what is it?
Windows Mobile.
Mobile or whatever devices. CE, that's what I was looking for. But they started selling these things that you could mount in taxis.
And then you turn them sideways.
And honestly, I see people putting them,
yeah,
taxi drivers using them all over Europe.
Wow. Not good.
So, but I do think you'll see more of that start to emerge. And at the end of the day, what is a Garmin, right? A Garmin is basically what we have Google Maps with some voice in it and maybe a slightly better functionality, but over time, I don't see an existence for Garmin. Over time.
Yeah. Well, that is a major concern for the iPhone just generally, is that a lot of the most popular apps are Google, and if Google decides to start putting all their best stuff just on the Android phones.
Yeah, they're built for every platform. I mean, also then the apps, I mean, the web is become so rich that the difference between what you can do in a browser and what you can do in an Apple application, an iPhone application, most of those applications could have worked in a browser window if the browser supported Flash, for example.
I have to say, I feel like I'm the only person who ever says this, but I think the idea of having apps is very temporary and it's total lunacy, and we saw the same thing emerge when the internet emerged. At the end of the day, when I have better browser capabilities, all these things get and better network connectivity. Yeah, and it'll just get folded back into the browser. So, I mean, you have people who are developing such niche applications that I just don't think it exists over time.
Yeah, I mean, like, what? I mean, I really need a weather application.
Yeah.
I mean, if I go to weather.com, why doesn't it just format the website, knows I'm from an iPhone, format it for my screen, and do everything that it's doing in the iPhone application there? And you could easily do it if you had Flash. And all these other consortiums, by the way, are supporting Flash now. So Flash, in a year from now, in the next 2 years, Flash will be on every phone, except for the iPhone.
Except for I was about to say.
Yeah. And that's going to just make everybody aware of this ridiculous draconian rules that Apple has about these things.
And it's so unscalable because even if you have an app that's approved, every generation of that app, Apple actually reviews and has to.
It's ridiculous.
And so like you talk to people, yes, I got this version approved. I'm waiting for my next version, and they just become a bottleneck. It's just
This was actually the first model of
not
Netscape.
sustainable.
Anybody who wanted to build a website that was actually viewable through Netscape browser, you had to have Netscape certified before they would load it.
Yeah.
It's not true. I just made that up. But can you imagine if that was the case? Like Netscape, you have to actually your website has to be certified by Netscape before you can load it in the browser. I mean, that would be
Maybe
insane.
Netscape wouldn't be such the success they were today.
I wonder, it's a pretty good idea. Pretty sinister. If you want to use
Get a
Google
little
Chrome.
they have those authentication certificate warnings come up. It's just the next generation.
All right, next story.
Next story. Let's talk about Ustream. Let's do
Ustream. We're using Ustream. Ustream is the sponsor of the program.
right now. Ustream has a new feature that allows commenters to syndicate their comments to Facebook, Twitter, MySpace, and AIM. It's launching on Monday, so it's not live just now. Featured shows will get the new comment system starting on Monday, so we should definitely have Alex get in touch with some people. Users check off a box at the top of the chat window indicating whether they would like to broadcast their comments across the services. You can even just choose which service you want. Yeah. So obviously this benefits Ustream, as each comment is then broadcast along with a link back to the Ustream video.
It's a little too much at times.
Yeah, but is that, do people really want to let everybody know what they're saying in a chat window? And is it going to lead to like an inundation of that noise on every social system? Like, hey, I
Twitter,
just commented on Ustream.
Status updates are not chat. And when people use status updates as chat, like Scoble does sometimes, or Lauren Feldman does sometimes, people unfollow. Like some people, you have these people who do like 10 status updates in a row, and it's basically they're doing chat. It's like this. I did that for a little while on Twitter, and I realized I was losing followers doing it, and good followers who are just like, I just don't want to see 10 tweets from one person.
This almost reminds me of like that Bright Kite Foursquare nonsense, where people push everything they do on Bright Kite. It's like, I don't need to know you're 3 blocks from where you just were.
I will do. I do my Foursquare like ironically, or when I think maybe people should know that I'm in an airport, because I would have said anyway I'm at JFK.
I don't think Foursquaring from the freeway. By the way, I saw you did that the other day.
I Foursquared. I was on the 405. I'm the mayor of the 405.
No, that should not be allowed.
Well, it is, and I am the mayor, and don't hate. Thoughts?
I hope someone else was driving. You know, listen.
That's a good point.
Listen, there is too much noise, and there are good use cases for it, like Blip FM. I really like.
Yeah, I love.
You know, where you can publish, you know, out to your stream a little bit of music you're listening to, but
not every song.
Not every song. And for example, Spymaster. Like when everyone got into Spymaster, I was seeing it every day, and I set a rule: you post anything on Spymaster, I'm deleting you.
Of course.
Right. So. I have nothing wrong with Spymaster, but I don't need to find out what dungeon you're in or whatever. Yeah, and so I think people
that's like
need.
Mafia was on Facebook.
Yeah,
like Farmville.
People need.
But Facebook, you can say hide all Mafia wars.
But only recently. They just added.
And that ought to be the default position. And I think, for example, you take Discus as a blogging platform, commenting on your blogs. My starting point is it should never publish automatically, but there are times where you say things that are important, whether it's Blip FM or Discus, and a checkbox that you can tick.
Yeah. Nice feature, but you don't want it to be default at all.
You don't want to blast.
Right.
I agree. Okay.
Makes sense. Brizzly. Let's talk about Brizzly. It's a social media reader, currently in private beta, although invites are very easy to come by. I signed up last night to check it out. The site works like a lot of third-party sort of Twitter clients, like a TweetDeck or Seismic, but includes Facebook as well as Twitter, and it's all from a browser. So the idea is it gives you a seamless Twitter experience. So if somebody posts a link to a video, it just embeds right there, and you can sort of follow the discussions a little bit more fluidly.
Is this Jason Schellen's
It is, yes.
thing? Yeah,
yes,
Jason Schellen's a smart guy. He's friends with those guys. Okay.
And direct messages as well work just like I am. So you can direct message back and forth with somebody in a chat window, and it works just like that. So considering the glut of Twitter clients, including like sort of more powerful tools like TweetDeck, which is obviously has more functionality than this, is there room for this kind of basic, straightforward approach? Do you think people are going to start looking at Twitter in a browser for a more sort of thorough experience?
I use Twitter in a browser today. I don't use I used TweetDeck for a while, I used Twirl for a while. I like to just have it in my browser for some reason. It feels more comfortable.
So would you like something like this? Because it's really
I would like to have
Twitter.
I would like to have different views of my Twitter, sure. So if they had different kind of views that were more efficient, like I would like to have one that was like more like an Excel spreadsheet, sure, I would use it. I think that there's a mark. I don't know that that's a I think that's a feature.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's got to turn into a product, and then that product's got to turn into a business.
Right.
So it sounds like a nice feature.
So I went to the website. If Brisley's listening, I didn't get yet approved for an account, so I can't
Really?
actually tell you.
I got Insta.
Yeah, I don't know. Someone said 50 accounts. You know, first 50 people in, but it was already done by the time I got
I
there.
think Read Write Web. If you
Okay.
look up Read Write Web's post, they had
Okay.
like 2,000 invites
Okay,
or something. So
gotcha. Well, listen here. I'd say a couple things. First of all, in town, there's Streamy. Streamy does very similar things. So let's separate the debate into two things. Should you have an Adobe Air client or in browser? Adobe Air leaks memory. So if you leave that open on TweetDeck or even Seismic for too long, it starts to chew up memory. I hate that.
Yeah.
Seismic already has a product, Seismic Desktop,
Yeah.
which Seismic Web, I think it's called, that you can use browser, and it's really good. And there's also products like CodeTweet, for example, that's all browser-based. What I think Brisley's trying to do is more similar to Streamy, which is saying, I want to take my Facebook, my Twitter, and all my other products and create a single unified stream. That's
Right.
at least what the web exterior made it sound, since I don't have access to the product. And I'm not a big believer in that. I'm not a big believer that there's a huge market for aggregating everything.
The one thing they do that I thought was kind of neat is they have the Twitter trends on the right, and they actually have, it must be a human editor, go through and actually explain them. So you can see a trend, you can hit Y, and it'll actually say, oh, this is a popular topic because he was on TV tonight.
So you know what's interesting is that's actually, I don't know if Brisley does this, but I met at the 140 conference, not the recent one, but the one before that was in LA, I met the company that does that for Twitter. And what they do is they figure out, not by humans, they have some technical way of figuring out where the trending topic originated from, and they build this whole thing that then explains where it originated from. There's probably some curation, but there's a company that does that. I wish I could remember the name. It was really interesting.
It's so conversational. I assumed it was people because like Jay-Z and Beanie Siegel were both trends last night, and I clicked Y, and it says, Beanie Siegel released a rap song that dissed Jay-Z, so everybody's discussing it. And it was really oh, that's interesting.
Where's that? On Twitter does that?
No, Brisley.
Oh, Brisley does
actually
that.
has
Yes,
the
yes,
trending
yes.
topics, and next to each trending topic it says Y. And you can click that, and it actually gives you a sentence
I'm going
about...
to try to find the name of the company, and
That's a
I'll
good
email
idea.
it to you guys, because there's a company that does that.
That was actually my favorite feature.
I think there's obviously a lot of value to be built on top of Twitter, TwitPic, and
YFrog and
all this stuff. I mean, so why not? Sure. Is it a huge business? Not now, but if they came up with some killer application, perhaps. So, you know, when people started making Facebook applications, they were like, "There's nothing there," and then Mark Pincus with Zynga is now going to make more money than Facebook itself, maybe at some point. So, you know, if he does these things across all the networks and has destination sites, I mean, you don't have to play Farmville just at Facebook. You could play it in MySpace, or you could play it at farmville.com if you had that domain name, or whatever. So, I mean, there's a lot of potential there.
It's a perfect segue into the next news story.
Okay.
I couldn't have written a better one. According to TechCrunch, Facebook has announced some sweeping changes for third-party developers.
Yes.
May impact their business. The new default view, first of all, favors status updates from friends and viral media as opposed to updates from games like Farmville.
Sure.
And that's already responsible for a dip in the traffic those sites are seeing. And now new rules are going to say they can't push notifications. You know, those notifications that pop up in the bottom of your screen.
Yeah.
Third-party apps aren't going to be able to do that anymore. So when somebody updates Mob Wars, it won't let everyone in their network know, hey, this guy just got a new key in Mob Wars or whatever. So that's going to cut them even further. So do you think Facebook can have it both ways? They can encourage this vibrant community of developers and protect everybody from seeing spam all the time?
This is the second time they've done this kind of a thing. I mean, people used to be able to one-click add everybody in your address book and send them an invite to a game, and now you can only do 10 or something, or 15. So they're just building in some controls so that people just don't go crazy. And some of these things are going crazy. I mean, when you tie the gold in the game to spamming your friends, then, you know, it's brilliantly sinister. Like your motivation, if you want to get more fruit on your farm or whatever, spam your friends. I mean,
I'll tell you, I have a lot of Mahalo users who are my friends on Facebook, and they all like this game Fashionista.
Yeah.
And until they had that hide Fashionista thing, it used to drive me insane because it's something about it.
So it's just
every time you want to get a new outfit or something, you have to let everybody know.
If everybody's connected and all the information is flowing freely, then you're going to need some tools to deal with it. Because now we went from like we don't know what any of our friends are up to. And now it's like, well, this is way too much information. I mean, at some point, our biometric data is going to be recorded by our social networks, and it would be like, oh, Jason's heart rate is really high right now, or you know, whatever. Lon's not sleeping well. I mean, we could get to the point of absurdity in how much information we share, and probably will.
Lon's having cardiac arrest. Use your paddles.
I think what will happen is actually they'll
might actually
your
be a good thing
iPhone
to
and
know.
these
Not bad,
Android, there'll be
yeah.
an
Hook it in.
Android application or iPhone application, monitor all your biometrics, heart rate, skin, sweating, sleep, workout, whatever, body fat, all this stuff. And it will all be monitored by groups of people in India watching it like Holter monitors or something. And then when something gets screwed up, they'll just send it up to your doctor and say, hey, we're seeing a pattern here. Your doctor will review it. And then
Crowdsourced nursing.
They're already
Basically.
doing stuff like that, not through social networks, but I was thinking about that old commercial. I've fallen and I can't get up. You know, so
It's
that
sort of like
device
alert,
won't sell
yeah.
anymore.
So, but Zuckerberg told me about this at TED 2 years ago. We had dinner, and it was me, Zuckerberg, and Evan Williams, and Steve Case. It was a pretty good table at John Brockman's billionaire dinner, which is like the top 50 people at TED. So I don't go to TED, but I got to go to the billionaire dinner.
You're an honorary billionaire.
Honorary billionaire, yeah, exactly. I'd rather not be. And he said he was building a reputation system for applications, like eBay.
Right.
And because I was asking him just the same question, like I'm getting spammed by too many of these invites. How are you going to deal with it? He said, well, I have a reputation system. And I was like, well, can you unpack that? And he said, well, basically, if people hit that complaint or hide, we know that they hid based on that feature. So if it was the feature like I just leveled up, and 8% of people hide that, okay, this application is annoying a lot of people. We're going to make this application be less percentage of your thing, and it's going to have less features. So if your application is causes and nobody complains about it, you can email 100 of your friends. If you're Farmville, let's say they were being annoying, I'm saying they are, but you can email 5 of your friends at a time. So it would be elastic. You could actually change the reputations based upon people's thing. But we should actually talk about the homework from Audible.
Very well.
The homework from Audible. The homework segment, Mark.
Great.
Very special thing going on at Audible. The copper bracelet, which I pulled up on my screen here, is available now. It's coming out on 10/29. Is today 10/29?
Yesterday was 10/29.
Yesterday was 10/29, so it's out, and you can get the first chapter for free and a special discount on the whole book by going to audible.com/twist copper. Twist Copper.
Twist Copper.
TWiST COPPER. Have you started listening to this yet? I put it on my
only
iPhone.
Only the very first part.
But this
I haven't
is
really dug into it yet.
This is the follow-up.
Right, to the Chopin manuscript.
The Chopin manuscript, which was 15 thriller masters. This is like all the best thriller people writing.
Lots of big, best-selling thriller authors,
for the medium. This is not a book that was made into an audiobook. This is an audiobook that was made into an audiobook.
It was designed to be an audiobook.
This is made for the medium.
Yes.
It's not translated or
No,
transcribed.
it's not awkwardly read by a voice actor from a book. It is.
So everybody
designed
go
to be
get this, and if you're a super fan of the show, if you subscribe to Audible by going to audiblepodcast.com/twist, is that right? Audible Podcast, singular? Singular. Audiblepodcast.com/twist, TWiST. You will get a Mahalo pack with a $20 bill in it, which pays for your first month on me. Boom. We had 50 people order it last time. We're going to do 50 people this time. Can we make sure we put a note about that on the website, Alex? Yep. And let's get another 50 people to get on Audible, and then next week we'll talk about this book briefly, and then we'll do a business book. But this is a fun diversion. You get to do this.
I'm ready to go. All next week, during my commute, I'm going to be listening to Copper Bracelet.
Well, that's what you got to do. You get on Audible. Okay, and next story?
Next story, let's see. Pick something good here.
Last story.
Last
Are you going to the Laker game tonight, too?
I gave my tickets to Don, so I'm
Those are your tickets?
Yeah. Well, no, I got the tickets for Don. Yeah.
Oh.
So I know you're going.
Well, Don called me and said to go, and so you bought.
I gave him up.
Are these really good seats?
Well, the 2 seats that I gave him are second row.
You're kidding.
Second row, yeah.
You bought these yourself, or these are like...
I got corporate tickets from a law firm, which I really liked the law firm, and I contacted him, said, Don Dodge is in town, can you give me tickets? And they got them.
Wow.
Yeah.
Because then Don Dodge called me from Microsoft and said, hey, let's catch up. You want to go to the game? Because Mark Cuban's going to be there. It's the second row. We can say hello, da-da-da.
Yeah.
And I was like, sure, I'll go to a Laker game, second game of the season. Mark Cuban will be there, and Ron Artest. Sure.
Not bad.
I guess I should say thank you to your law firm and
Yeah.
to you and
Reed
to Don.
Smith. Reed Smith.
Okay, everybody loves Reed Smith. Reed Smith gets a free advertisement. Thank you for the second row. Is it literally second row?
So you know, there's 2 rows that are on the floor,
and then there's the 2 rows right
and the
behind.
2 rows
So
behind.
these are about 300 apiece.
You can throw stuff at Jack.
Yeah, they retail $245.
Yeah, I get these seats sometimes. Okay.
All right.
Good deal.
We'll do MapQuest.
MapQuest.
MapQuest was
That still exists?
MapQuest was still in the lead. They actually had
Yes,
the majority
I
of
know.
market share at the beginning of this year. They have now been surpassed by Google Maps. They continue to lose ground. In response, Google Maps now has 45% of the market to MapQuest 35%. So not as far behind as you might think.
Yeah, give it time.
In response, they've lost some new features and updates, including enhanced terrain information and info about subway stops. But obviously, they have a lot of ground to recover if they're going to compete. Is there any hope they can turn it around?
No.
How did it get so bad?
No. The problem is the product stopped innovating a while ago, and Google did the API in their Maps program. Then MapQuest started playing catch up with their API.
Right.
You know, Google Maps had that very good, scrolling kind of feature before them. And so what happens is, if you consistently show that you're going to add better features in another product, over time, people will stop looking to the other product. So it's as if you had a restaurant that had great specials every night, and then people don't even try the other restaurant because, like, well, there's always something great at that place. We got to go there.
Right.
That's what's happening now. People don't trust the MapQuest brand to deliver. They trust the Google brand to deliver, so they're going to put their bet on Google, and then they're not going to set it and forget it. And also, a lot of people are starting with Google anyway, so the market share of Google is naturally going to drag Google Maps along. Why would you leave Google Maps to go to MapQuest? It's not necessarily better.
Yeah, Google Maps being integrated with Google Search is pretty powerful.
Yeah,
if I
of
look up an
course.
address, it brings up that map.
And
there's
Google-
no need for me to go anywhere
Can I
else.
point out the opposite, though? It's what I find so surprising is MapQuest is such a crap product and has been for so long, and it's surprising to me the staying power of certain applications that are so
Oh, yeah, you think it
bad.
should be gone by
Yeah,
now.
it should have been gone 3 or 4 years ago, and I would go to assistants in the office and say, can you print me out Google Maps? And they would print it out in MapQuest, and I'd say, no, print it out in Google Maps. And I hate the product. It's been so bad for so long. And it took me like 4 years to get my mom off AOL, like paying for the dial-up, and I finally dragged her off. And now she's like, God, why didn't you tell me Gmail existed? And it's surprising to me the staying power of applications if you get people locked.
And why would they change? They got other things going on in their lives. This is
Yeah.
what, I mean,
It just
people
becomes
in our
automatic
world,
after
people in our
it
world
just
think,
used
oh
to
my
go.
God, how could you still be using Yahoo Mail versus Gmail, or Gmail versus Hotmail, or Hotmail versus this? I mean, people don't even think about this. Like, why would I switch? It works.
Yeah.
Listen, some people will they drive the Cadillac. When their dad drove a Cadillac, they drive a Cadillac. They're going to die in a Cadillac. Why would I drive anything else? It works. They've seen it work.
Yeah.
Even if the switching cost is 0, as in this case.
Yeah, I mean, there is some odd brand loyalty to MapQuest still. And I actually did. I tried it last night when I was writing the story, and it is clearly inferior, which is interesting.
It's cluttered. It's not well
been around
designed.
so long, you would think they would at least be able to get as good as the other products that are out there.
I don't know what AOL is going to do with some of these assets. Like, if AOL is going to become a content company and it's Weblog Zing 2.0, like, why are they going to keep MapQuest? Like, should they just sell that to somebody and give it away?
And it's so clear that Google always sees one step ahead because it wasn't about maps, it's about local and how I build local advertising.
Yeah.
Local advertising starts with a map search. Like, why did MapQuest miss that?
Yeah.
Or
They're not in the local
AOL,
business,
why did AOL miss that? It's
I tell you, when you got a big money printing machine, this big machine that just spits out money, it's very hard to stay focused because the entire company, this is from being there for a year and just sort of watching it, everybody's eyes are focused on where the money is coming out of. And it's like, oh, look at the access business is shooting hundreds of $100 bills out, like printing money. And they're like, oh, Weblogs Inc. and this, or the $20 bills are coming out of that machine, and it's a tiny machine. Like,
so when you're a hammer, everything looks like a nail?
Yeah, or you just look at the existing revenue stream and you think, well, why would I even look at that tiny little thing? And it's like, well, that tiny little thing's going to turn into a gusher. Like, keep drilling, or wait for it to grow. But it's very hard. I understand it. I mean, look at, for that matter, look at Google. I mean, how many of their products have become category killers besides AdSense?
Yeah.
I mean, even Gmail, as great as it is, it's still not #1.
Yeah, I like to say, you remember the peanut butter manifesto of Yahoo? Google is every bit as much of peanut butter. They have so many products that are so mediocre, but in a strong wind, even a turkey can fly. So, like, once you've got like this huge money machine, all the other products seem like they're doing okay.
Actually, I think it's even more sinister than that.
Yeah.
I think Google releases all this stuff as cover.
To box people out? Or?
No,
Yeah.
it's cover so that you don't know what they're really focused on. So here's 150 efforts, and really Android, Maps, local, search, Chrome. This is what matters.
Yeah.
But how would you know about so many other things going on? You don't know.
Yeah.
Oh, so they launched this thing with newspapers, they launched this thing with this, they got this Google base, they got Google Knoll.
Yeah.
I think they're like, yes, let's throw 150 things out a year so nobody can tell that these are the 5 important things. And we know what the 5 important things is because they see a line item that says, Google Chrome has 300 engineers on it, and Orchid has 2.
I think you give them a lot of credit. I think it's peanut butter. I think it's like spread thin, all these. But if they are really that smart that they're doing that,
these are smart guys.
Super villain level calculation.
That's
pretty
evil.
Good, yeah.
That's how we do it. Anybody who's a great entrepreneur has a little supervillain in him. I'm just telling you, there's a little Lex Luthor in every
calculating,
scene.
little
little bit
Bond villainy.
A little Bond. Trust me, the difference between Bond and the Bond villain, not much. Not much difference, in fact.
Fair enough.
It's 2 sides of the same coin.
Yeah, there's a bunch of those movies where the villain actually says that, right? You and me are not so different, Mr. Bond.
Mr. Bond.
There's definitely that speech.
Only
in there.
call if you don't
Goldfinger,
like money.
Thunderball or something.
You want power, you just want it for your queen. I want power for myself. Last story, please.
Oh, we'll do one more. Let's see. I'll give you a choice: Twitter Peak, Wasabi, or live streaming concerts.
Mark, you're the guest.
It was a big week for live streaming concerts with U2, so that'll be fun to talk about.
I have to say, the quality of that was extraordinary.
That's what I've heard.
I clicked on it and I was like...
I could not see because I was right there. I heard later.
What do you mean you were at there?
I was at the U2 show.
How'd you hook that up?
Good friend Adam Honbird, former Mahalo employee Adam Honbird, invited me to go. He had 2 tickets.
He knew not to tell you till after.
Were they free tickets?
No, we bought them? We paid for them.
Oh.
We paid for them.
So those tickets were for sale?
No, he had a friend who couldn't use their tickets and gave them
I couldn't tell if that was a
Adam.
promotional thing or what it was.
No, no.
Oh, I thought that was a promotional
It was
show.
a concert. 90,000 people paid for tickets at the Rose Bowl. It was the record-setting biggest event ever at the Rose Bowl.
And the Black Eyed Peas were there, too.
And the Black Eyed Peas opened and had Slash join them. They covered Sweet Child of Mine and joined on stage.
That's quite a
Slash.
show.
It was quite a show.
Here's the question. How did you watch the video?
I've gone back and watched some of the bits on video, yeah.
And how would you compare the experiences?
It's a lot. There's a lot less, obnoxious people jockeying for position around you when you're at home, and the beer is cheaper. But there is something to be said for being in that crowd. I mean, one song that they did. I'm trying to think of which they did do one, but
everybody sings it.
Yes.
Still haven't found what I'm looking for?
Yes, that was the one where Bono actually didn't sing the beginning of the song and let 90,000 people sing along. And of course, everybody knows every word because this song has been popular for 20-some years. And it really being there, that's a very sort of visceral experience to be in person watching something like that. And we were actually pretty close to the stage.
I was offered tickets to the event for my birthday from my mother. And she says, put October 25th down. Like, you're not going anywhere. You have this thing.
She's a big Fergie fan?
No. and I was like, why do I have to reserve October 25th? She's like, you can't go anywhere. Don't be out of town. Lock it down. This was back in September.
Yeah.
And I was like, Mom, I need to know why I'm locking this date down. And she goes, I'm getting you U2 tickets for your birthday for this show in Pasadena. I'm like, I didn't know it was going to be live at the time.
Yes.
And I said, you know what I could really use is a new vacuum.
That'd be good. That'd be good too.
So I got the vacuum, which I love, and then it ends up being online, and I'm watching this online, kicking back, watching
cleaning your house,
full HD with my vacuum going. And I'm like, I think I got the better end of the deal here. Well, that's why I wanted to ask.
I mean, seeing it, you really do get it. It was crystal clear. I mean, it looked really great. You were right there on stage.
Quality level felt like HD to me.
Yeah.
I mean, they had millions of people tuning in the stream. Well, you have the news story. What's the news?
They had 10 million. They're estimating. They don't know. It's hard numbers. They estimate 10 million people were streaming it live, and over 1 million people have now gone back and watched it just on YouTube.
That's phenomenal that the technology has progressed to that. I mean,
10 million people watched it live.
That's the estimate. It was streamed by an estimated 10 million users, according to the blogs I looked at.
I wonder what the top concurrent was, because people tune in for 5 minutes.
Yes, that's total during the show, and it was about a 2.5-hour show. So people, I'm sure, are coming in and out.
maybe it hit 1 million at one point.
Probably.
It's pretty amazing.
It's still amazing.
I'll tell you what the
considering
interesting
quality
was.
and how big the screen was.
Twitter is the new TV guide because the way I found out about it, and everybody found out about it was the #1 trending topic on Twitter.
Yeah.
And,
And
it's
actually
one click
every
away. So
song.
it's like
For sure.
now Twitter is determining. Like I click it, I watch it. Can you imagine when Mad Men comes on or Lost and it's Lost is a really cool show. Click here to watch it. We're all watching it live.
Oh, I have to turn Twitter off when Lost is on because the
3
East
hours.
Coast
Yeah,
posts
those
people
bastards on
spoil
East
it.
Coast spoilers.
It's awful. It,
Oh,
like the
that's
first
so
the first
funny.
episode I was on Twitter while people on the East Coast were watching. I got totally ruined.
Yeah, right. And then the trending topic is like it's
Yeah,
Egyptian.
or Saeed dies.
Yeah, it's like
No,
Saeed
what
dead.
are you doing?
He died?
No.
What?
Just because as an example, Saeed is fine.
Why is Google Wave trending today? Oh, because they opened it up?
I guess they must have sent out more invites.
I think
know
it's
people are
about
still
it.
waiting for their invites to come through. So every day they send the invites through. I bet
So
people.
about the live streaming music.
We sort of got into it. Last week, YouTube streamed the U2 concert. It was streamed by 10 million estimated people. Last week, MySpace presented a secret Weezer show from San Francisco. Tonight, Facebook is live streaming a Foo Fighters show from LA. So is this just a fad, or are we all going to start watching live concerts on the internet to the point where it will be a sort of a substitute, as Tyler said, for the act of going to see a live show?
There's been a lot of businesses that have tried to make this into a business. It's cheap to do it now. It's essentially free because they have all the bandwidth already. And it's paid for. So this could be a very big revenue opportunity for them if they could for the bands.
Well,
I mean,
definitely it obviously benefits the bands in a big
I don't know if
way.
U2 did
Exposure
if
and promoting
U2
an album and
if U2 had a concert on, if they streamed every single live show, it would not impact their live shows. It would only make them more popular because people would see, wow, it's pretty exciting to go.
yeah, this did not seem to impact
No,
attendance
and
at the
so
show.
What would they get from a sponsor to be the official sponsor of the 60 shows next year on the tour, live? And you
What
watch
if they
any of
were
the
a
60
buck
shows.
each to watch?
Well, forget about charging
So
for
how
it. There's
mu-
enough advertising. I mean, how much is Toyota going to pay to be the sponsor of U2? I mean, they already have sponsors. They have BlackBerry. So what is BlackBerry going to pay to?
Yeah, but how the real question is how much longer do you think it'll be before YouTube offers a pay-per-view, pay-per-rent?
Oh yeah, they already have that, right? There's some
No.
sort of beta program going on, I think. There is a beta program coming. No, people have been talking about that forever. They're going to do pay-per-view stuff, just like iTunes does or whatever. But I don't think people are going to pay for it because I think the sponsorship opportunity is even better. I think. I don't know.
Could be.
Get Bono up there drinking Diet Slice in the middle of the show. There you go. You got
There's the cost for them to stream each show is going to be fairly minimal.
YouTube's got its sort of infrastructure already paid for.
No, I know, but for
Fixed
bands
costs,
who are touring, it's not that expensive to get three people to stream the show live, and it'll be, if they can charge $1 a piece, it's going to be huge new revenue for bands.
That's what I think. That's what was sort of my point.
Even
It's a
without
new
the
opportunity for bands.
It's additive. It's not a substitute. It's
Right.
like we didn't stop going to movie theaters just because we have DVD players and VHS or VCR machines at
Well,
home.
it's up and down a little
did
bit.
slow.
It is
People
slow.
People sort of did.
Yeah,
But
they
there's
didn't stop.
They didn't stop. It's
Right.
still a big business.
Yeah, and the DVD business is huge. Okay, well, this has been a fascinating show. Thank you to Mark Suster. Did I pronounce it right?
Suster, yeah.
Suster. Suster.
There you go.
CEO turned VC.
Yeah.
GRP Partners.
Thank you.
$200 million burning a hole in his pocket. If you've got money, just
you got to
email
shout
Mark.
out the blog URL because it's
Yes.
actually one of my favorite blogs.
Yeah, I have a blog. It's called Both Sides of the Table.
Yes.
I try to write about how to best approach VCs and also just leave some startup lessons and whatnot as well.
So everybody check out Both Sides of the Table. And your Twitter account is?
M. Suster. M-S-U-S-T-E-R.
There you go. So everybody follow Mark on Twitter. Thank you, Tyler. Thank you, Alex. Thank you, Lon.
My pleasure.
Should I hypnotize the audience now?
Go for it.
Oh, you didn't do that yet. That's right. That was the plan.
Everybody ready to be hypnotized?
I'm ready.
We dimmed the lights a little bit in here. We're
Is it
dim
like
the lights.
the Pee-wee's Playhouse now? What is
No,
what is that?
no. I am going to hypnotize everybody. As the lights are going down.
Wow.
It's for Halloween.
This is my new. I'm going to have a new religion. People may have seen on Twitter, and so the first part of this is going to be some positive affirmations for you guys to be more successful as entrepreneurs. So this is part of the programming. So I'm going to invite everybody to now take a moment to get comfortable. Lean back in your seat. Put your arms in a comfortable position. And feel the relaxation streaming to you over Ustream, through your computer's desktop, in through the video card, to your audio speakers. Double relaxation now, coming through the mouse into your hand, up your forearm, through your bicep, into your shoulders, and feel your shoulders gently relaxing as they sink and slowly release. And you feel that release from your forehead down to your temple, closing your eyes. And you feel your jaw getting relaxed and slowly releasing. And now giving yourself permission to be even more relaxed through your chest, and you're breathing deep. And as I count to 10, you will go into a deeper relaxation. 10, so relaxed, even Jimmy Wales couldn't get you upset. 9, ready to raise angel capital financing for your company. 8, more relaxed than ever. 7, breathing deeply. 6, so relaxed, feeling the warmth. 5, 4, and when you wake up, you're going to feel totally refreshed. 3, and you're ready to take on the world with your business plan. 2, and 1, wakey, wakey, lights up, everybody awake. How's everybody feeling?
Very relaxed,
Everybody feels
refreshed.
good and relaxed. Very nice. Okay, so that is our first relaxation, startup relaxation, and we're going to be doing this weekly to program you guys to be better entrepreneurs, and you should feel better now. You should feel ready to take on the world, ready to buy an Audible subscription, ready to buy a TechCrunch 50 ticket at full price. You're going to feel ready to do what you need to do.
I can't feel my legs.
This is part of the Caliconology program that we're starting. This is my new religion. I am going to take all the programming that everybody's had, the bad programming, that they can't do it. I'm going to strip that out. And then we're going to reprogram everybody and build them back up to be great entrepreneurs.
Great.
It's going to take time. You know, people's parents screw them up.
Yeah.
And people's religion screws them up. And then they watch the television that screws them up. They listen to Bono. They'll definitely screw you up. Bono is not going to tell you, you need to listen to me, and I'm going to strip all that out so you can be a great entrepreneur. How do you feel, Lon? You feel relaxed?
I don't know why, but I feel like I have to quit and go start my own company. So
Right.
this is probably
Absolutely.
going to be my last show. Not sure what just came over me. It's
Absolutely,
weird.
absolutely. Well, thank you, everybody. It's been a great episode. Thank you to Ustream. Thank you to DNA Mail. Thank you to WebSpy. Thank you to our guest, Mark Suster.
Yes.
BothSidesOfTheTable.com. Thank you to Tyler for his incredible insights. Thank you to Lon for the great news. Thank you to Alex and Kenny Chen. And did I leave anybody else out I'm supposed to thank? Oh, go to the audience conference, and if you need to roll deep with us and you can't afford a ticket, contact at This Week in Startups. If you want to be on This Week in Startups on Jason Shark Tank, or you want to ask Jason, contact at This Week in Startups. I hope everybody enjoyed the relaxation, and we'll see you again next week.
And go Phillies.
F you. Can we cut that out of the program?
I go for mine, I get to shine. Now throw your hands